Part 42. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 427. As soon as the watch arrives, I continue to write code words worryingly. Xiao Chuxia, what do you mean? Huh, Mr. Li pointed to the snack cans on the ground in Chuxia. Old man, am I that greedy for money? Who said you're greedy for money? Chu Xia's eyes widened, with an expression of righteous indignation. If anyone dares to say that you're always greedy for money, I'll be in a hurry with him. That's what you said, Mr. Li snorted. I was just joking with you. You continue to carry such a big bag of things, you are slapping the old man in the face, don't you know? Grandpa, you misunderstood. Chu Xia asked for help and aimed at his aunt Li Aiwan. Grandpa and Grandpa never mentioned the matter of Mr. Li's birthday. She was also to blame. She ran in a hurry just now, and forgot to mention the gift. Alas, I need to have a longer memory in the future. No wonder there are many Li. Father, don't embarrass Chu Xia. My parents-in-law sent her to us in such a hurry, it must be something urgent at home. Mr. Li interrupted her displeasedly. What's the matter with you? I'm talking to Xiao Chuxia. What's the matter with you? Ah. This old man, he was never so difficult before. Helpless, Chu Xia had no choice but to grin foolishly and stay silent. She didn't know what to say, and she was racking her brains for ideas. Chu Xia, you married a good wife, didn't you? Mr. Li asked. Grandpa, what do you want me to say about this? Chu Xia looked embarrassed. I think my in-law's family is good. But, I really want to admit it. Isn't it a bit too thick-skinned? What if you do it again because I have the cheek to punish me? What should I do? Ha ha ha. Mr. Li smiled and waved his hands. Okay, it's not hard for you guys, let's go. Xiao Chuxia, come to Grandpa to play when you have time, and forget about Grandpa and his family when you don't want to be successful. Although it is not clear what the old man is playing, Chu Xia hurriedly answered, Grandpa, how can it be, no matter what time it is, I will never forget you, Grandma, and uncles and aunts. Okay, okay. Come back quickly, don't make Lao Zhao wait in a hurry. Mr. Li pointed to a pile of food on the ground. Chu Xia, take it back to honor your grandma and grandpa. I received too many presents for my birthday today. I can't finish it in a while, and it's a waste if it's broken. Take it back and give it to them, Lu Ping. Pick some rare ones and add them. Don't let the old man say that I searched, I want him. Father. We walked. Before Mr. Li could finish speaking, Li Aiwan dragged Chu Xia to the outside, and Zhao Yushan and Zhao Kiwi quickly followed. The water thrown by the married girl is really right. I'm facing her, she doesn't know that I'm facing her. Mr. Li waved his hand at everyone, ignore her. Let's chatter. Li Aiwan's elder brother, sister-in-law, younger siblings, and younger sister all followed. Seeing the car parked at the door, there was obvious surprise in his eyes. Aiwan, I guess your parents-in-law are in a hurry, put the car here first, and let Lu Ping and the others send it over later. You go first. Li Aiwan's sister-in-law reacted very quickly. Things settled down. Okay, sister-in-law, then I will trouble you. Li Aiwan was not polite to her, opened the door and got in the car. When she saw Lin Chuxia, who was sitting honestly in the back seat, she was obviously stunned. She glanced at Lin Wenbin, then looked clear. Obviously, she had misunderstood. She had met Jingjie, but she had never met Lin Wenbin, so she naturally regarded Lin Chuxia as Lin Wenbin's girlfriend or something. Hello auntie, hello uncle, hello sister. Lin Chuxia greeted several people politely, with a faint smile on her face, and there were still tears in the corners of her eyes. Li Aiwan glanced at Lin Wenbin quickly, and seeing that the other person looked normal, she twitched her mouth in dissatisfaction, and hugged Lin Chuxia's shoulder affectionately. Hi, girl. When Chu Xia saw the expression on her aunt's face, How could she not know what she was thinking, so she hurriedly introduced, "Uncle, aunt, sister, she is Lin Chuxia from Xiaoxiazhuang. We met, so we will take her back along the way." Li Aiwan felt a little embarrassed when she thought of the way she looked at Lin Wenbin just now, and coughed in disguise. "I said this girl looks familiar, so she has the same name as Chuxia in our family, haha. Chuxia has black lines all over her head, does a name look familiar?" In front of Lin Chuxia, Chuxia couldn't ask her grandparents why they didn't tell her about Mr. Li's birthday, and she was also puzzled by Mr. Li's strange behavior just now, but for the time being, she could only keep these doubts in her stomach. The journey from Poer village to Xiaolin village was only a few minutes away. Putting my aunt's family at the entrance of the alley, Chu Xia went straight to my sister-in-law's house with Jingjia and Lin Wenbin. What happened when I went in? Looking at Lin Chuxia's gloomy expression, Chu Xia asked, remembering that when she got out of the car, Lin Chuxia had already returned to normal. That's why she asked this question. "He followed me to scold me, but..." Lin Chuxia quickly glanced at Lin Wenbin. "This elder brother helped me drive him away." "The he you mentioned is the man who came out of the yard when you were hit by the car door?" Chu Xia asked. "Yeah," Lin Chuxia nodded. "He is engaged to me and will get married next month, but the day before yesterday, their family sent a letter from a matchmaker asking me to come over. I just came, but I didn't expect that as soon as I walked in, his parents and he said that they would not marry me and wanted to withdraw from the marriage, and asked me to pay them back the banquet money for the engagement. They said that they were afraid that I would not pay it back, so they used the car I rode as collateral. I asked them what happened, but they didn't say anything, and said that it was not suitable for me." "Is there such a scum?" Chu Xia blinked and swallowed. "There is such a scum. Her appearance is so cute." Lin Wenbin couldn't help but turn around and rub her head. "Yes, there are all kinds of people in this world. Do you think they are all good people like your brother?" "Brother, it's not good for us to be so narcissistic." Chu Xia shook his head speechlessly. "I didn't expect there to be such a scumbag, but Lin Chuxia, I think such a family should leave early, otherwise, you really married into their family, and you will be the one who suffers in the future." After finishing speaking, he couldn't help but shook his head again. "It's so strange that we have the same name, and I feel like persuading myself when I persuade you." She was called Lin Chuxia before, and she is still called Lin Chuxia now. Therefore, when she said this name, she had a strong sense of belonging, and she really felt that she was trying to persuade herself. Lin Chuxia was amused by her. "Although we have the same name, our personalities are vastly different. If I were as cheerful as you, they would definitely not want me. It's not that you are bad, it's that they don't know how to cherish. Don't be sad. You are still young. There must be a better man waiting for you. By the way, what did that man do just now?" The corners of Jingxia's mouth twitched imperceptibly. "He has been with Chu Xia for so long, and he understands her character. Her curiosity is similar to that of a cat. He probably didn't come back to his senses when I left with you, but after thinking about it, he followed me and told me." Lin Chuxia bit her lips and couldn't continue. After thinking about it for a while, Chu Xia made a good guess. "Did he suspect that you had something to do with my brother and the others, and then slandered you?" It's so scumbag." Chu Xia looked at Lin Wenbin. "Brother, did you beat his teeth out?" Lin Wenbin slapped his forehead fiercely. "Yeah, why didn't I think of that? I should have smashed all his teeth. Oh, it's too cheap for him to have black eyes. No, next time we meet, I must give him a few teeth." Dare to say that Chu Xia is not good? Can he say my sister's name casually? The man said that as soon as he finished saying Lin Chuxia, Lin Wenbin went down and blackened the circles of his eyes. Jingjia explained. "Your brother is really kind to you," Lin Chuxia said sincerely. At that time, she was a little confused and didn't understand the situation. Now, after hearing Jingjia's explanation, after thinking about it again, She immediately understood that they were fighting. Not for her, but for my younger sister, just because my younger sister's name was called so harshly, or in other words, I didn't want the man to say insulting words to this name later. It's nice to have a brother. It's a pity that this is not enviable. Brother, you are really my dear brother. Chu Xia smiled at Lin Wenbin. I will love me so much after I have a sister-in-law, okay? That is necessary. No one is more important than my sister. Lin Wenbin raised an eyebrow at Jingzhe. From this matter, who is closer to my sister? I lost to you. Jingzhe nodded. I must admit that you are the elder brother who loves my sister more than I do. From now on, I will learn from you. Forget it, I'm her own brother, I can't treat her too much. If you are like this, others will misunderstand. Lin Wenbin patted Jingzhe on the shoulder with sympathy. Second brother, you can only be the second child. Jingzhe. The three of them first sent Lin Chuxia to the entrance of Xiaoxia's Wang village, and then turned to Luangjia village where Lin Baojuan was. Lin Baojuan was standing at the door talking to the neighbor's wife. When she saw a car approaching from a distance, she stopped talking and stretched her neck to look around. The daughter-in-law of the neighbor's family also looked around, and then said enviously, whenever we can ride in this big car, alas, I heard from my natal brother, it is very comfortable to sit on, just like sitting in the house. As he spoke, he slapped his forehead fiercely. By the way, my sister-in-law has already sat down. Look at my brain. Sister-in-law, tell me, is it true what my brother said, just as comfortable as sitting in a house? Crunch. At the same time as the neighbor's daughter-in-law's voice fell, the car stopped beside the two of them. Chu Xia poked her head out of the car window first. Sister-in-law. Xia, Lin Baojuan looked surprised. Didn't you just go back? Why did you come back again? Why didn't your parents come? First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 428. The second watch arrives. My father has already been discharged from the hospital. There is something wrong with me for the time being. I am afraid that my sister-in-law will be worried. I will come here early to talk to my sister-in-law. Hearing what Chu Xia said, Lin Baojuan's face turned cloudy immediately. It's really great, I've been worried these days, I can't get away if I want to, and it's not easy to go to Dalian village to inquire about the news. I'm dying of anxiety. This kid, the longer he grows, the more handsome he is. The neighbor's daughter-in-law looked at Chu Xia while tisk, this handsome, why is he so handsome? Chu Xia pouted secretly. When she came here before, the neighbor's daughter-in-law always had her eyes on her forehead and squinted at her. People. Lin Baojuan answered with a proud face, yes, my family Xiaoke is really a rare beauty. If you can catch Xiao Zhou's attention at a glance, let me tell you, my niece and son-in-law are young and good-looking. Holding a lantern, I can't find a good son-in-law. Which one is it? The neighbor's daughter-in-law pointed to Jingzhe and Lin Wenbin, who were standing beside them with something from the car. Which one is the niece and son-in-law? Hello, Dr. Xiaojing. Lin Baojuan hurriedly let go of Chu Xia and greeted Jingzhe. When she looked at Lin Wenbin, she was still explaining to the neighbor's daughter-in-law, they are not my niece and son-in-law. Chu Xia smiled at the neighbor's daughter-in-law, these two are my elder brothers, one is my godfather's elder brother, and the other is my cousin. Turning to Lin Baojuan, sister-in-law, let's talk in the room. Okay, let's go into the house and talk. Lin Baojuan nodded in response to Chu Xia while looking at the neighbor's daughter-in-law, Li Zhu's wife, come in and talk for a while. No, your relatives meet. I don't want to get involved. Li Zhu's daughter-in-law waved her hands and stared at the food in Jingzhe and Lin Wenbin's hands, feeling like she couldn't take her eyes off her. Chu Xia took out a handful of candy from his pocket and handed it to her. Auntie, I'll give you some more wedding candy. Hey. I want this. Li Zhu's daughter-in-law almost narrowed her eyes. I'm not afraid of having too much wedding candy. The more, the more festive, he. Seeing a person enter the yard, Lizu was still standing outside looking in enviously, muttering, "When will I have such a relative? She has a bad mouth. If you don't ask her to answer, she likes to chew her tongue." Alas! Entering the room, Lin Baojuan explained and sighed, obviously. She felt that it was very embarrassing to have such neighbors, or she felt that this made her niece ashamed in front of outsiders. "I know. Miss Xiaoxiang told me." Chu Xia hurriedly said, "It's okay, the eldest brother and the second brother are not outsiders, so they won't laugh at us." "Who is the eldest brother?" Jingxia and Lin Wenbin asked at the same time. "Who's older and who's the big brother, do you even need to ask?" Chu Xia rolled his eyes at the two, with a "you're so childish" expression. "I'm big," the two childish brothers said in unison. "Then they are all second brothers." "You are really two," Chu Xia explained to Lin Baojuan while looking at him. "You know Jingxia, this is Lin Wenbin, my cousin. My father and relatives have been found. This time I came back with them, and tomorrow I will move the graves of my grandparents to the Lin family ancestral grave. Sister-in-law, we have completely fallen out with the grandparents in Dalian village this time. It is estimated that there will not be many contacts with uncles and uncles in the future. However, if my sister-in-law doesn't dislike it, I hope you will always be a relative of our family, and I will treat my sister-in-law as filial as my mother." The process is not detailed. Lin Baojuan could also imagine how the old man and the old lady were making a fuss, so she sighed, "It's only a matter of time before you fall out, but your speed is really fast enough. In just a few days, you have found the relatives of the second brother. It's just a coincidence that I was able to find my father's relatives so quickly." The elder brother took the lead. "I saw the pair of silver chopsticks at another house. Then, following the clues, I quickly found my father's relatives," Chu Xia briefly explained. "Second brother has a good heart and is a lucky person. I knew that second brother could find relatives, but I didn't expect to find him so soon. Xia, my aunt understands your thoughts. You are worried that my aunt knows that your father is thinking wildly about your relatives, so you rush to explain this to my aunt. You child, my aunt watched you grow up. How can you not know you character? Sure you know. It's one thing for my aunt to know, but it's another thing for me to say it." Chu Xia smiled and changed the subject. "Where are little uncle and Dejiang Xiaoxiang?" "Your little uncle and Dejiang went to help others build a house. Xiaoxiang went to her uncle's house. Her sister went on a blind date today. She is waiting there to watch the fun. If the man comes, she will come back and call me. At that age, it's still as good as a child." Speaking of Cao, arrived, and as soon as Lin Baojuan finished speaking, Xiaoxiang ran back wheezing, and shouted before entering the door, "Mom, here we come." He stepped in and saw the people in the room behind him. The words stuck in his throat, and his face flushed red. "Why, don't you know me?" Jingxia teased her with a smile. "When you got married in early summer and played in City A, I was the leader of the team." "Brother Jing," Luan Xiaoxiang hurriedly bowed deeply, then turned to Lin Wenbin and bent over, "Hello." Chu Xia introduced to her, "This is Brother Lin, my cousin." "Brother Lin." Luan Xiaoxiang bowed again. "Chu Xia has a black thread. Where do you get so many etiquettes? I just introduce you to let you know who this is." "Eat candy, eat candy." Lin Wenbin quickly grabbed a handful of candy and handed it to Luan Xiaoxiang. "It's so sweet, eat it quickly." Luan Xiaoxiang looked at Lin Baojuan a little helplessly. "Take it," Lin Baojuan said. Luan Xiaoxiang quickly stretched out her hand to take the candy from Lin Wenbin, and accidentally touched her fingers with the other's big hand. Her face immediately turned red like a roasted shrimp. Sighing secretly, Lin Baojuan planned to send her daughter away. "You go to your uncle's house first, and tell them that I will ignore you if there are guests at home. If they do, I will see you sooner or later. If not, I will. It's the same whether you see it or not. Chu Xia hurriedly got up. Sister-in-law, I have to go back to Grandpa's house, let's go together. She didn't want to affect the relationship between her sister-in-law and her uncle's family because of her arrival. In the countryside, seeing a son-in-law is a very important thing in matters, especially between sisters-in-law. It is easy to cause conflicts and grievances because of the lack of thoughtfulness in such matters. After returning to Grandma's house, Chu Xia told Zhao Yulan about it. My daughter is really sensible, Zhao Yulan praised. Your sister-in-law is close to us, but we can't just ignore everything and think about her. Chu Xia nodded. Mom, I know. I'll explain to her later about De Jiang's matter, so you don't have to worry about it. Zhao Yulan sighed. Don't blame our selfishness, this kind of thing, there is really no way to be selfish. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 429. What can't be selfish? The two women didn't keep their voices down. Obviously it wasn't something private that they didn't want outsiders to know. Li Aiwan, who was sitting next to her, asked curiously. Of course Zhao Yulan didn't hide it from her, so she said truthfully, didn't Dejiang, Bao Juan's family, always wanted to be a soldier? Captain Xiao Zhou agreed to help him with a special move, and it has already been done now. But Bao he and I thought about it. After thinking about it, he withdrew the notice first. Bao Juan hasn't regained her strength since she was injured last time, and now everyone inside and outside depends on Qingshu and Dejiang to work. If Dejiang is going to be a soldier now, will Qingshu be exhausted to death? That's true. Li Aiwan lowered her voice. There is a daughter-in-law in our village, and her natal family is from Bao Juan's village. Ever since her old lady died, she had become a different person. If it wasn't for Bao Juan's hot temper, she would have bullied her to death. However, just like this, Bao Juan was not less angry with her before. She could do everything, but she insisted on putting on a mother-in-law role, sitting on the Kong all day long and letting Bao Juan take care of everything. Yulan, you will never forget Bao Juan in the future. What her parents did has nothing to do with her, but these years, she pushed herself into the bitter well to help the old couple atone for their sins. If it weren't for Qingshu, if you treat her well, you don't know what kind of frustration the old woman will suffer. Well, I know, she just has a very kind heart. When she first married, her uncle and sister-in-law and her mother-in-law fought and didn't talk, so she took her mother-in-law home to raise her. As a result, after picking it up, she never sent it back. The eldest daughter-in-law insisted that she had already raised her father-in-law. The mother-in-law is the second child's business. I'm already a wimp, right? But I promise. I certainly can't do such a thing, but she. That's all. I've been raising him for nearly 20 years. In the past, she always told me that Qingshu treats her well and her mother-in-law treats her well. I really believed it. Looking at it now, she doesn't know how much she has suffered for us. Hey. It's true that Qingshu treats her well. That old woman treats her badly. Li Aiwan curled her lips. Anyway, no one in their village has a good opinion of her mother-in-law. Chu Xia listened carefully to her mother and aunt's discussion for a while, and felt that the two had turned the topic to pure gossip, so she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Luan Dejiang's enlistment notice was given to her by Zhou Mikang when she just returned home, but he suggested that if no one asked her, just don't take it out. This has nothing to do with enlightenment, but knowing the truth, but still dragging the other party into it. If something goes wrong, how can we face each other? At that time, Zhou Mikang didn't know that Lin Baojuan was not Lin Baohe's younger sister. It is not recommended that Chu Xia hand over the enlistment notice to Luan Dejiang. Now that such a change has happened, it should not be handed over. Before returning home. Sure enough, Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe asked about it. After all, with Zhou Mikang's identity, it is indeed something they don't want to see without faith. There was no other way, so Chu Xia had no choice but to take out the notice, and with an idea, she expressed her concerns about Lin Baojuan's poor health. She didn't expect to get Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan to agree. As long as this matter drags on, she has nothing to worry about. It is estimated that it will not be long before the news of the war ahead will spread. At that time, if my sister-in-law and uncle still want Luan Dejiang to join the army, she will naturally notify them of enlistment. If they don't mention it, it'll be like it doesn't exist. Although it is necessary to worry if you know it early or late, but since Zhao Qiliang has already lied to the uncles, aunts, and grandparents, and the parents have not fully understood the nature of the mission, why should she make them worry? At the door, Zhao Qiwi was waving at her, and she hurriedly got up and went out. "Sister, where have you been?" She didn't see each other when she came back. Grandma, Grandpa and Great-Aunt Lin were chatting enthusiastically, and she couldn't interrupt. They asked about Mr. Li's birthday, and they shouldn't ask about it in front of Uncle Lin and others. As for Aunt Lin, she didn't have the courage to ask. After all, the other party was the first one. Suchin's blind date, I went over to have a look. Blind date today? Chu Xia looked puzzled. Didn't she just want to go on a blind date when I came back last time? How long has it been? How did you do it? Or is it another one? That one didn't work out, this is another one. Suchin is in high demand now, and she almost meets 2 or 3 times a day. Didn't her sister-in-law marry into the county? She used to have the best relationship with her sister-in-law when she was at home. Now that I'm married, I haven't forgotten about her. Knowing that her parents are willing to search for the bride price, I gave Suli an index of 2 workers. If anyone becomes married to her, he can work as a worker with her. You don't know, her parents are jealous because of this, and they think her sister-in-law doesn't give her brother and her brother some pointers. However, her sister-in-law didn't follow his parents' example, so they couldn't do anything about it, so they put all their efforts into earning a fortune from the bride price. I don't think it's time for you to come back, so I'll come back and have a look. Zhao Qiwi said while dragging her out. By the way, have you been wondering whether your grandpa and your grandpa didn't tell you about my grandpa's birthday? That's right, Chu Xia nodded honestly. I really can't figure this out. It's just the 2 old men fighting each other, alas. Zhao Qiwi said with a face full of tears and laughter. In the past, your grandfather, that is, my grandfather, and my grandfather had a good relationship. When the 2 villages met, the 2 old men would find a place together. Drink 2 cups. Didn't you go there with me a few times before? My grandpa and grandma also liked you very much, but they were worried that you couldn't lift your shoulders, and it was hard to find your husband's house, so they kept looking out for you. My father and mother thought that the other party had told you about your marriage, so we didn't mention it much, mainly because we didn't understand the situation at the time, and we didn't want to talk about it. Chu Xia interrupted her with a smile. You all thought I was going to marry the old man, didn't you? It's not an old man. Zhao Qiwi rubbed her head in embarrassment, but anyway, I feel that I am not young. I don't want to say more. Later, we went to the wedding, and something happened at Joe's house. After returning, Grandpa, of course, talked about everything in a positive way, and didn't mention a word about what happened to the Joe family. But the second aunt and Kian wrote a letter and came back to spread the news. My grandfather came to ask my grandfather on a bicycle. At that time, my grandfather was angry and said that he came to see a joke and scolded him. Out. My grandpa got angry right now, and said to himself that he didn't even know about your getting married, and suddenly the news spread everywhere. It is said that the son-in-law married to the granddaughter of the old man Zhao's family in Xiaolin village was arrested. He also came to ask because he was worried. How could he be treated as a donkey by kindness? Just like that, the two old men got into a fight, and neither of them talked to the other. My parents and I explained and persuaded each other. Some time ago, the younger sister of my uncle's family also got married, and the condition of the husband's family is quite good. Of course my grandpa is happy. His personality is not like that of his grandpa. He is willing to show off when he has a good thing. When grandpa thought of his attitude towards you, he became even angrier. The knots that were already about to be untied were tied up again. This time I went to celebrate my grandfather's birthday, and my grandparents prepared gifts for them. However, not a word of blessing was said. We are not allowed to speak. In previous years, Grandpa celebrated his birthday. Grandpa and Grandma will go to join in the fun together. Xia, in the hearts of Grandpa and Grandma, you are very, very important. I understand. Chu Xia felt sore in her heart. This heavy love made her feel unbearable. They don't want me to suffer a little bit of grievance. In fact, they are not blaming Grandpa Li, but feel that they treating Grandpa Li as a family. Then, Grandpa Li should support me unconditionally, no matter what others say. You can't doubt or guess randomly, alas. Also, didn't Qian come back around the same time as you? The second aunt showed off in the whole village. No one knew that her daughter married a high-ranking official. Then, my grandfather said something more, which completely angered him. Gone. After thinking about it for a while, Chu Xia asked, Grandpa Li didn't just boast about his marriage in front of outsiders, did he? Yes, that's what happened. My grandpa thought it was a disguised confession to Grandpa. How could he know that his flattery hit the horse's hoof, and Grandpa completely ignored him? No wonder Grandpa Li asked me to drink. He's just angry with me. If it wasn't for me, the old brothers wouldn't have quarreled to this extent. Chu Xia frowned tightly, obviously trying to resolve the conflict between the two of them. What is the solution? You don't need to worry about this matter. Grandpa talked so much with you today. In fact, he just wants Grandpa to know that he attaches great importance to you. Otherwise, with my grandfather's temper, do you think he would talk so much with you? Thinking about Mr. Li's temper, Chu Xia's expression immediately relaxed. That's right, when she went to Li's house with Zhao Qiwi, Mr. Li might have put on airs of an elder. He is more outgoing than Grandpa, but when dealing with juniors, but it is much stricter than Grandpa. When he asks him to speak, the junior cannot interrupt or refute. The simple description is that in front of the junior, if he is right, and if he is wrong, he is right. Whoever dares to refute him, he will turn against anyone. Since he can take the initiative to put down his airs and talk to her today, it means that the old man can't hold his breath anymore and wants to reconcile with Grandpa, so if he mixes up blindly, it will not be beautiful. Sister, are you kissing my grandpa or your grandpa? Zhao Qiwi thought for a while, and said, I really haven't thought about this issue. They are all very kind to me, but if I really want to discuss it, I seem to be closer to Grandpa, that is, your grandpa. Don't worry, even if you say you're closer to Grandpa Li, I won't complain to Grandpa. Chu Xia looked at the people chatting in the room, and couldn't help feeling, it's really strange, they can fall in love at first sight. Does this mean that the family does not enter the house? It's fine anyway, you and I are going to meet the new son-in-law. Zhao Qiwi pulled Chu Xia to the alley ahead. Suqin has already greeted me, and she must be angry when I came back halfway. Okay, I also like to join in the fun. Chu Xia smiled with big eyes. I used to bully you every time I came, but she was angry with me and often rolled her eyes at me. Hee hee. Zhao Qiwi couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Yeah, every time you came, you stuck to me like a little tail. How long has it been? Damn. It's not as fast as you said. Chu Xia glared at her. I'm still a child, so I don't want to have a child now. It's not up to you. Zhao Qiwei laughed jokingly. There are a lot of elders in the family, urging you every day. I see whether you will be born or not. Qiwei, Suqin was standing at the door when she saw Zhao Qiwei coming. Immediately, he seemed to have found the backbone. You are here, he is here, you can help me take a look, hurry up, he said, grabbing Chu Xia's little hand, and said affectionately, Chu Xia is here too, just in time for you. If you stay with me outside, I won't panic so much. You are the man who fell in love with Chu Xia, but not you. Zhao Qiwei looked at her with disdain. You tell me clearly. I don't have any threats to you. Hey. Suqin, who was exposed, smiled sarcastically. He is from the same village as your grandma, so I let you have a look, or let's go in and have a look together. I'm not going in. I'm just here with my sister. There are still a lot of guests at home. I'll go back first, Chu Xia said, turned around and walked back. Everyone clearly expressed their scruples about her. How could she be okay? Join in the fun? In case of misalignment. It's not all about her. Chu Xia, Suqin anxiously held her hand tightly. Do me a favor, will you? What? Just. Suqin hesitated, and finally made up his mind. After a while, your sister goes in and has a look, and if she thinks it's okay, you and your sister will accompany me to go in and have a chat with him, okay? Not good. Chu Xia looked at her seriously. I hate people counting on me the most. I'm scheming against you, I'm just thinking. If he is fascinated by you. Chu Xia interrupted her, the meaning is the same, but please respect me. I am a married person, and I don't do this kind of thing as a test stone for others. After speaking, she pulled out her hand forcefully, turned around and left. Zhao Qiwei, who had been standing there watching the communication between the two, sighed and walked out. Qiwei. Suqin grabbed her anxiously. Are you my good friend? I understand your mood, and I can understand your concern about gains and losses, but have you ever thought about how inappropriate your behavior was just now? Chu Xia is no longer the little follower who ran after me. She is married, and her husband's family has a background that you can't even imagine. Now you ask her to help you find a blind date. Do you think you are qualified for that? Not to mention you, even if I am on a blind date, I am not qualified to ask her to do this. You, hey. Zhao Qiwei patted her on the shoulder. I'll go and see her first, and I'll help you with the photo later. Okay, okay. Suqin ran out with her. I'll go and explain to her in person. In fact, I don't underestimate her, I just treat her like that child who doesn't understand anything. Why are you joining in the fun? Zhao Qiwei glared at her. You just ran away, what will the man think? Don't turn around and blame this on me and our family. Xia, go back quickly, and wait for me to talk to Xia about it. Come back and find you again. Suqin was in a dilemma. Okay, you two don't need to sway left and right. I'm not angry, I just don't like being used by others. Sister, you go and help her look, I'll go home by myself. Chu Xia stepped back and waved at the two of them. Wandered away and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Suqin, forget it, I'll go back to. Zhao Qiwei shook Suqin's hand, apologetic. It's not that I don't want to help you, but I can see that you should be quite satisfied with this man. Then I'll stop messing around, and I'll see him again when you guys settle down, okay? Don't you do this. Suqin burst into tears. I really like him, I like his appearance and stature, but it's because I like him that I worry about seeing him no character. You know, if I get married with him, then he can go to work in the county with me. If I get it wrong, wouldn't it be in vain to take advantage of others and make myself a joke? Wait a minute, what's his name? With a flash of inspiration, Zhao Qiwei connected this matter to something. It's Yao. After thinking for a while, Suqin slapped his forehead fiercely. I remember, his name is Yao Xinchen, his father is Yao Aguo, and his family should not be far from your grandma's. Today is my grandpa's birthday. When Chuxia came back from looking for us, I met a girl named Lin Chuxia. She was divorced by her prospective in-laws. They confiscated her bicycle for fear that she would not pay the money. He didn't tell her the reason for the divorce, but he said suddenly that he didn't feel suitable for her, so don't delay anyone. If she didn't meet Chuxia, she would probably walk all the way back to Xiaoxia's Wang village. The man she wants to marry is also called Yao Xinchen. The man she wanted was also in Poer village where my grandma lived. I don't know if there is such a man in my grandma's village. Turn around. You can ask a matchmaker. Really, Yao Xinchen? Chuxia's figure appeared in front of the two of them again. Zhao Qiwi stared at her dumbfounded. Haven't you disappeared without a trace? Chuxia raised her small chin in embarrassment. You think I was a soldier for nothing? Latent, understand. Don't pick which pot is unopened. Okay. Zhao Qiwi also raised her chin at her. You know that it will be a lifetime of pain for me not to be admitted to the army, and you are deliberately angry at me here. Su's father and Su's mother are very satisfied with Yao Xinchen. With a height of over 1.75 meters, he has a strong body, winks, and speaks neatly, making people love him. Besides him, he has an older sister and a younger sister at home, so there is no burden to have helpers. It is also a joy to give the bride price. This is really the most suitable son-in-law candidate. The matchmaker checks his words and looks, and he keeps praising Yao Xinchen for his goodness, filial piety, obedience, and ability. All kinds of beautiful words are not stingy at all. Yao Xinchen already knew that this matter was inseparable, when the girl saw him just now. The shyness on his face is obviously very satisfied, and he is probably thin-skinned when he hides now. Where's the man? The matchmaker looked around. He said, let the two young people chat in the room over there to see if their personalities are compatible. If you think it's okay, we'll settle it early. We're not too young, so if we hurry up, it's very easy to get married a few years ago. We still want to keep our daughter for another year even if she wanted to. Suchin's mother could not follow the matchmaker's words, so as to make her daughter appear precious. Okay, if you want to stay or not, you and your parents will discuss it, and I will take care of sending the message. But sister, it's hard to find this child with a lantern. Xiaoqin is back, come in quickly. Seeing Suchin entering the door, the matchmaker greeted with a shrill voice, I'm looking for you. Xinchen is also looking for you everywhere. You two, go to the Westinghouse and talk. Okay. Suchin smiled at Yao Xinchen, and took the lead to enter the West room. After the two of them closed the door, the matchmaker and Li Ma went back to the East room to continue chatting. What are your plans for your future life? Suchin asked straight to the point. Plan? Yao Xinchen touched his head with a smile. I can do whatever I want, just listen to my wife. You will listen to whoever you marry, right? Suchin asked. Slightly stunned, Yao Xinchen hurriedly said, no, I just like you. I mean, if we get married, you will be my wife, and I will listen to you in everything. I'm very satisfied with your appearance, but my parents may love money more. If we get married, the bride price will be indispensable. Do you think it's acceptable? Abel. That would be great. Suchin smiled. We are young, even if we owe debts, as long as we are willing to work hard and earn more work points, we will pay it back soon. Yao Xinchen's eyes flashed, but he didn't say anything. Are you dissatisfied with me? Suchin asked. You talked a lot at that time, why don't you say anything now? If you are not satisfied, just tell me, I won't rely on you of. No. Yao Xinchen waved his hand. I just don't know what to say. To tell you the truth, this is my first blind date, so, too nervous. First blind date? Suchin looked at him incredulously. Your conditions are so good, it's your first blind date. Yeah, it's really the first blind date. I had this kind of meaning with a classmate before, but later I felt that my personality was not suitable, so forget it. Yao Xinchen smiled naively. My mother said, I still know the basics of blind dates. Good. Students also know the basics, don't they? It's not the same. Yao Xinchen shook his head. Forget it, let's not talk about the past. Now we are together, of course we have to talk about our affairs. I promise, if we get married, I will be happy. You alone, other women, I don't even look at them. Suchin smiled and shook her head. Let's say it now, when the day comes, the wind will blow like hell, would you still want to watch it? Didn't your sister-in-law say that she would make you a worker? Why do you still have to go to the farm? Yao Xinchen asked seemingly unintentionally. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 430. One more. How can it be so easy to be a worker? Suchin shook her head and smiled wryly. My little sister has that idea, but how can she have that ability? It's just because my parents don't value me, and I deliberately said that so that they dare not treat me I was too much. Just kidding. Yao Xinchen stared at Suchin incredulously. Is your sister-in-law really joking to lie to your parents? Hush. Suchin glanced at the door nervously, lowered her voice. Don't let my parents hear. Why? I'm not young anymore. Most people my age are married. My parents would feel ashamed to keep me at home. If I don't have the hope of helping the family as a worker, they will definitely give more gifts. Just marry me into someone's family. Marriage is a major event in a lifetime. I don't want to dismiss myself carelessly. I tell you this because I don't want you to misunderstand, but please don't tell me about it. How could you do this? Yao Xinchen's eyes clearly showed anger. This is not a misunderstanding, this is simply a fraud. You are going too far. What did I lie to you? Where is the excess? Suchin looked at him in a daze. I will tell you the truth as soon as we meet. How can I lie to you? How can there be excess? You. Yao Xinchen let out a long breath, and said with gritted teeth, your previous blind dates agreed to help you hide it. Yes, Suchin nodded seriously. You just thought it was a fraud, didn't you fully prove it? If they hadn't concealed it, you wouldn't have misunderstood it, right? Do you think you can find a man you like in this way? Yao Xinchen's lips curled up with a trace of sarcasm. What you're doing will only delay yourself. Why do those people help you hide it? They don't plan to be with you anyway. Why don't you do what you want and put gold on your face? Think about it, don't you? What's the matter? You mean you want to rescue me and tell my lies, right? Suchin smiled at him. However, I don't understand why I feel that you seem to be very angry. Even if there's no need to be so angry because of the workers' quota, right? You can also go on a blind date and give yourself money, by the way. What a great thing. Right. Yes, yes. Yao Xinchen nodded his head again and again, and forced out an ugly smile. Yes, at this point, why don't I put money on my face? It's none of my business if you delay. Right. Understood, Suchin grinned. It's good if you figure it out, but what are you going to tell the matchmaker later? Since I'm giving you money, of course I have to ask, isn't it too much? What else can I say? It's just that I didn't find a match, Yao Xinchen said as a matter of course. Suchin blinked and blinked. Then if I say that you can meet the workers' quota, would you still be willing to be with me? Are you real or fake? Yao Xinchen frowned at her. Are you kidding me or are you kidding yourself? If I just said that I couldn't meet the worker quota to test you. In fact, my sister-in-law really did it for me, but I don't want others to marry me just for this, so I want everyone tested like this. To tell you the truth, after other people have your reaction, I directly deny it, but I really like it, but think about it, and I feel entangled, and you can express your true thoughts. Tell me, son. Yao Xinchen sighed solemnly. Actually, when we first met, I felt very good to you, and I really wanted to have a good relationship with you, but when I heard that you used such deceptive methods, I couldn't accept it. What I hate the most is being cheated by others. Now I am in a difficult situation. I like you, but I also care about your deception. Trust is very important when two people are together. Of course, it's normal for you not to believe me when we first met, but if you understand the truth, you can't get over this hurdle in your heart. Can you tell me your true thoughts so that I can think about it again? Didn't I already tell you what I really think? That is, I'm worried that people who are going on a blind date only look at the external conditions and don't look at me as a person, so how will we live together when the time comes? Since you think so, why don't you not announce the news first, and then tell the other party when you match up, and you can work as workers together? Isn't it possible to find someone you like and surprise the other party? Hey, Suchin sighed solemnly, my father and mother did this, what can I do? They just want to quickly match each other, and they want more gifts to hold in their hands. What they are most afraid of is that I will be here, the city founded by itself, and they don't give so many gifts. Yao Xinchen nodded, that's right. If you find a husband's family in the city, they can't let your family decide. Speaking of it, you should find a reliable one in the countryside. From now on, the two of you will live together, and there are not so many rules. Yes, I've thought about this question too. Otherwise, I won't get along with my parents. I'm just thinking about it. It's the best if I can meet someone I like. If I don't, then wait. After work, I asked my sister-in-law to help me. Originally, my sister-in-law wanted me to go directly to the city to look for her, but she had already attracted my parents' reluctance by taking me out. If she took care of the marriage, my parents might really quarrel with her. Hearing what you said, I feel much better. Alas, it's not easy for you. Speaking of which, we are really destined. What I want to find most is a girl with your personality. After a pause, Yao Xinchen stared at Suchin with fiery eyes. It's the Chinese New Year now, we should just get married at the end of the year, and go to work in the city directly after the Chinese New Year, what do you think? Suchin looked at him confusedly, do you like me more, or do you like being a worker more? Of course I like you a lot, I admit, I want to be a worker, but I, Yao Xinchen, am definitely not the kind of person who just throws away my marriage just to be a worker. If I really don't like you, don't talk about being a worker, even if you let me be an official, I can't marry you. This is to live together for a lifetime, not just a day or two. You said that if I have a bad life with you, if I get divorced, I will make people laugh if I lose everything. Is this for my own good or my own bad, isn't it? That's good. Boom. It should be my good friend, let her come in. Suchin looked at Yao Xinchen inquiringly, she is my best sister, we have agreed that if we want to look after each other, we want her to look after each other too. If you win, I can be with you. Yao Xinchen straightened up confidently, and nodded with a smile, you two have a really good relationship, then let her in. The door was pushed open, and Zhao Qiwi stood at the door with a smile and looked at Yao Xinchen, hello, I am Xiaoqin's good friend Zhao Qiwi. Hello. Yao Xinchen stood up and nodded politely, I heard from Xiaoqin that you should look after each other for each other. I'm really nervous when you come here. I really like Xiaoqin. You hold your hand high. Say something nice. Sister, let me take a look too. Zhao Qiwi was pushed aside, Chu Xia squeezed in, looked up and down, her big eyes were full of confusion, why is the face so familiar? Chu Xia's appearance is definitely one that people can remember at a glance. Yao Xinchen recognized her the first time he saw her, and he was in a panic and didn't know what to do. Quickly answered, maybe you have seen someone who looks similar to me, it is impossible for us to meet each other. I remembered, Chu Xia slapped his forehead fiercely, you are the man I met in Poer village, your family, you detained Lin Chuxia's bicycle and kicked her out, right? Yao Xinchen's first reaction was to deny it, but when the words came to his lips, he suddenly realized that he was indeed from Poer village, and this girl had indeed seen him before. If Suchin became suspicious and went to investigate, it would be easy to reveal her truth. Son, he simply slapped his forehead. Remember, Lin Chuxia happened to hit your car door, right? She told you that our family kicked her out, right? Why didn't you tell me about this? Suchin frowned and asked, you didn't break up with that girl on purpose just to be a worker, did you? No, no, Yao Xinchen waved his hands again and again. I'm not that kind of person. Hey, people, that's how it is. No matter how outrageously wrong I am, I always feel that I am right. Didn't I tell you just now? I was with a classmate, the classmate was talking about her, I thought it was pretty good, but she was going to marry me, and at the same time, she was on a blind date with another man. I'm a man, how can I suffer such a thing? Let someone send a letter to her, saying that the matter between the two of us is over, and let her return the gift money. She probably didn't meet the right one after dating for a while, but she still thinks I'm the best, so she came to beg me and her together. Of course I couldn't accept it, and my parents couldn't accept it even more. They felt that she had lost all face, and in a fit of anger, they buckled her bicycle and told her to get out. What we did was a bit inappropriate, after all, she was a girl, but she was angry at the time, and I didn't want her to bother me again, so I followed my parents' wishes and ignored it. Let this little sister meet and be misunderstood, alas. This man has a nice mouth. If I hadn't met Lin Chuxia's parents before, and had a deep talk with Lin Chuxia, maybe I would have believed this man's words. Chu Xia curled her li first marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 431. It's the second update, it's so late again, I didn't want to write this update, but I always feel guilty, so I finished coding again. The keyboard is not good, my fingers hurt, I decided to buy a mechanical green switch, and it costs 700 yuan for rice. Dear friends, genuine subscription, give us some food. Lin Chuxia, who suddenly appeared at the door, shocked Yao Xinchen out of his body, and stared at him blankly for a long time without saying a word. Are you scared? Lin Chuxia stepped forward and looked directly at him. I won't stop you if you want to climb high branches, and I admit that your family confiscated my bicycle, but why do you slander me? Yao Xinchen, pat yourself on the chest and ask, is there anything I, Lin Chuxia, feel sorry for you? Is it my blind date behind your back or your blind date behind my back? When did I go on a blind date behind your back? Yao Xinchen, who came back to his senses, grabbed Suchin anxiously. I don't know why she is here, but, heaven and earth, I am with you. She only went on a blind date with you after breaking up, you have to believe me. I don't believe you. Suchin smiled and pulled his hand away. It seems that the wind that my parents put on is really powerful enough to make you abandon your fiancé who is about to get married and come on a blind date with me. He. You, what do you mean? Yao Xinchen was already confused. True and false, didn't you just say that it was a temptation? Why do you say that now? Don't worry, I'm not so boring to lie to you over and over again. Suchin spread her hands. My sister set up a worker quota for me. I also promised to set up a quota for my future husband. My parents just want to recruit more workers. A lot of people came to go on a blind date. I just spread the news. Isn't this just letting the wind go? Yao Xinchen's mind was in chaos. He no longer knew whether to believe Suchin's words, let alone whether to persevere. That's right, he broke up with Lin Chuxia just because he wanted to be a worker. If it wasn't for this, then why would he bother to go on a blind date with this woman who is much younger than Lin Chuxia? Glancing at him lightly, Lin Chuxia took the initiative to tell everyone, I am a classmate with him, but he is 4 years older than me, and our family is poor. He took good care of me when I was in school, and always secretly stuffed me with food. I am very grateful to him, but I have nothing else to repay him, so I just want to marry him, and I will spend my whole life repaying his kindness to me. My parents are honest people and very supportive of my decision. They took the initiative to find a matchmaker and went to his house to propose marriage. Then, our relationship was established like this. People in their family didn't mention marriage, and my parents couldn't bring it up, so it dragged on until this year. It was his family who offered to get married this year, and my parents agreed immediately. Their family never mentioned marriage. My aunt and aunt felt that their family might have concerns about this marriage. Advise my parents not to be too stubborn, let me see if there is a suitable one. My parents were a little tempted. They were afraid that the Yao family would go back and delay me, so my parents and I made a promise. He will definitely marry me, probably because he thinks my family has too little labor, so he wants me to stay at home for 2 more years to help. Although my parents were dubious, they obeyed my wishes. This summer, when their family proposed marriage, my parents immediately agreed and were busy preparing my dowry. The so-called betrothal gift is to give my parents 101 yuan of support money according to the routine. They don't ask for anything else. In the end, they didn't even show their faces, and let the matchmaker send a letter saying that they won't be with us. The family got married. When I went to his house, I didn't want to rely on him, but he sent me a message asking me to talk. I really didn't expect that what they wrote was to trick me into impounding the bicycle. Isn't it because they are afraid that we won't pay back the 101 yuan support money? After knowing each other for so many years, it's really chilling for them to think like this. The most chilling thing is that now I know why he suddenly stopped getting along with me. It turned out that he wanted to seize this good opportunity to become a worker. Having known him for so many years, I certainly know that what he envies most is to work as a worker in the city. In the past, he often whispered in my ear. So, it's not surprising that he made such a choice to be a worker. Sighing, she looked at Suchin. To be honest, if he didn't slander me, probably, I would really help him, but you shouldn't want to marry a ruthless man, right? Yes, Suchin smiled at her. Thank you, you saved me. At first, I fell in love with him. If my friend didn't find out that something was wrong, maybe I would have jumped into the fire pit. During Lin Chuxia's narration, Yao Xinchen kept looking at her coldly, neither interrupting her nor arguing. Now after Suchin finished speaking, he sighed heavily. You choose to believe what she said, right? Suchin smiled. I choose to believe the facts. Do you know what is the truth? Yao Xinchen looked at Chu Xia and Zhao Qiwei. You may think that you are helping her, you are upholding justice, but have you ever thought about it? Maybe, you are helping the evildoers. Could it be true what she said? You are not familiar with her, do you really understand her character? On a blind date, the most fearful thing is that sisters will accompany each other to see each other. Either because of jealousy, or because of different perspectives, it may affect a marriage that should have been good. I don't want to defend myself too much, because you probably think what I said is wrong. What Lin Chuxia said was correct. This is simply an unfair and unequal argument, so why should I waste time? Suchin, I believe you have judgment, I will give you time to check. If we are married, you can be a worker. I will farm at home, and I will do my best to take care of the family members on both sides. If you believe me, marry me. If you don't believe me, reject me. You don't need to answer now. I'll give you 3 days to think about it. After speaking, he turned and went out without looking back. Now, let alone Suchin, even Zhao Qiwei hesitated. That's right, they were not familiar with Lin Chuxia, so it was impossible to guess who they believed. Let's go. Chu Xia looked at the expressions of the two of them, and pulled Lin Chuxia out. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought you here. No, thank you, if I hadn't seen his performance with my own eyes, or I would have given him a reason to forgive him. To tell you the truth, he had made such a thing before, but later when he looked for it again, I forgive him. Lin Chuxia smiled embarrassedly. At least this time, I can let go of it calmly. If someone introduces you to a blind date, I can also go on a blind date calmly. In the past, I always felt that even if it was a breakup, going on a blind date would be a treat for him. The betrayal, it's just. She glanced at Sue's house with some worry. Is she your friend? Chusia waved her hand. She is my sister's friend. It's okay, you don't have to worry about her choice. We have done our best. If she is still with that man, it is probably their fate now. If you mix it up again, it will really make people misunderstand that you are jealous and can't let go. You are several years younger than me. Why do you see everything so clearly? Lin Chuxia said and shook her head. We have the same name. Compared to you, I am really far behind. Well, our acquaintance is due to fate. We will come and go often in the future. I will leave you the address. In the future, when you have troubles and no one talks about them, you can complain to me. I promise, I will definitely not tell others. Chusia. As he spoke, he took out a note that he had written long ago from his pocket and handed it to her. Remember to write to me. Okay. Lin Chuxia nodded. I also follow you to gain good luck, but in fact, your good luck is caused by your personality. In the future, I will learn from you and let myself be more cheerful. It was already 5:30 in the afternoon when she was sent home. Lin Chuxia entered the house and found her parents sitting on the kong with sad faces. She said, Father, Mother, even if the Yao family repents, we will not succeed. The pupils of Lin Weiguo and Zhao Xiangxiang lit up in an instant. The stubborn daughter finally got the hang of it. It was Chusia who persuaded me. Lin Chuxia showed them the note in her hand. She also left me an address, and we will keep in touch in the future. That's a good boy, really a good boy. Zhao Xiangxiang muttered a few words, got up to cook, and left her husband and daughter in the house. After hesitating for a while, Lin Chuxia said, Father, return the money to him. Let's ride the car back. I won't go, you go. Okay. Okay. Lin Weiguo agreed happily. We don't want to be greedy for money, and we have a bad reputation. Why help her? On the way back, Jingzhe glanced at Chusia, who was staring out the window in a daze. This doesn't quite match your character. What should my personality be? Chusia withdrew her gaze and stared at Jingzhe. Am I a cold-blooded animal in your eyes? He. Jingzhe shook his head and laughed. Of course you are not a cold-blooded animal, but you never want to meddle in other people's business. Is it because she has the same name as you? Yes. Chusia nodded honestly. Suqin originally asked me for help, but I refused, but because of her, I was like helping again. I have a deep affection for my name. Lin Wenbin laughed and teased his younger sister. I was scared to death. I thought you were going to introduce her to me. I don't have this hobby. Moreover, your growth environments are too different, and it's hard to get along. I won't do anything harmful. Lin Wenbin laughed. You and Zhou Mikang's environment is also very different. Don't you still get along well? Can that be the same? I don't even know where my sister came from. With a slander in her heart, Chusia turned her head to look at him. If you really want to, you can go after it yourself. I won't do the work of La Lang's partner. At this time, in the forest on a certain border line, the regiment leader Tongzi was sitting in the barracks, staring at the person in the photo in a daze, and in a blink of an eye. It had been almost a month since they separated. Did she miss him? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 432. Zhou Hanliang, who was covered in dirt, came in from the outside, picked up the tea mug on the table and gudong, and poured it all down. Zhou Mikang put the photo in his pocket, glanced at him, and frowned. That's my tank, can't you have a better memory? Hey. Zhou Hanliang smiled mischievously. I'm thirsty, so I didn't look carefully. Glancing at him, Joe Mikang ran over to the tea mug, filled it with water and put it in front of him, warning, "If you do it again, I'll send you back." Joe Hanliang lay down on the table with a dog-legged smile. "Success, you can send me back. I'm exhausted here every day. I'm really about to grow hair." "That's a beautiful idea." He glanced at him, and the head of the regiment stopped talking. It has been more than half a month since he was pulled out, and he went out every day to do exercises and regular training. The distance from the opposite army was less than 10 meters, and even the voice of the other party, the feeling of being able to hear but being unable to do anything, is so humming aggrieved. Especially after the daily training, the soldiers on the opposite side purposely showered and frolicked in front of the barracks, speaking obscene language, which made people want to slap their mouths, but they couldn't. A day without war is a day with patience. During training, you are as tired as a dead dog, and the people opposite you are booing as if you are watching a sports meeting. How does it feel? When eating, you eat green vegetables and radishes, and the opposite side is braised pork ribs. How does it feel? Of course, no matter what you feel in your heart, on the surface, there will be no performance. The comparison is psychological warfare. Whoever shows timidity first will lose. Of course, this is precisely an intuitive comparison of the qualities of the soldiers on both sides. In the end is the clank man, or the rogue ruffian. Intuitive and clear. It's just that the other party seems to be proud of the ruffian. The bottom line is different. There is no reason to speak. "Captain, how long do you think we'll have to guard?" Joe Hanliang sighed depressedly. "Brothers are almost suffocating. Seeing a group of hooligans appearing opposite each other every day, I really want to kill the dog with a single shot." Joe Mikang looked at him indifferently. "You are a political commissar, and you are in this mood. What should others do? It's only been half a month. If I stay here for half a year, am I going to take a group of lunatics back?" Joe Hanliang looked at him unexpectedly. "Head, are you not angry? What do you say? Then how can you sit on the Diaotai so firmly? What if you don't sit still?" Joe Mikang turned his gaze to the outside of the tent. "Do you want a war?" Joe Hanliang didn't know what to say. Considering the current mood, they hoped to get rid of all the hooligans on the other side, but, logically speaking, a literary solution is always better than a martial solution. Just when he was reflecting on himself, he heard the group leader Tongza say bitterly, "My grandmas really want to shoot them all." Joe Hanliang. "Leader, what are you trying to do? You said that if I die, how long will the girl be sad?" "Ah," Joe Hanliang was stunned there. "Head of the regiment. Can your mind not jump like this? Of course, I won't let myself die, I mean just in case. How long can she be sad in case?" Seeing the meaning of the head of the group, it seemed that he could not pass the test without answering, so Joe Hanliang had no choice but to bite the bullet and say, "I don't know." Joe Mikang glared at him. "Nonsense. If you know, I will shoot you first." "Head, I didn't mean that." Joe Hanliang's eyebrows and eyes were all wrinkled. Is there no place for the leader to get angry and want to take him under the knife? I'm telling you, what method can you use to make you more persistent in your heart? Joe Mikang glanced at him. "Second idiot." Joe Hanliang is about to cry. "Team leader, don't wait for such a fool. You are always in the wind and rain. I don't know what you mean, it's too tangled, and the dialects of various places are gathered into one sentence by Han Liang." Chu Xia, who was far away in Xiaolin village, sneezed. Just as the car stopped in front of her grandfather's house, Lin Wenbin laughed and teased her, "My brother-in-law is talking about you." After getting out of the car, Chu Xia looked a little dazed. Of course, she didn't know how the military arranged the time and space in the past. Anyway, the impression that the war would start a year later. According to this trajectory, Joe Mikang will not be in any danger for the time being, but she doesn't know if the current time and space coincide with the one she used to have. "Hey, People are reborn to an era that I understand, and even grow up from a baby. She is lucky, and went to an era that I don't understand. She is still about the same age as herself. Although she is 3 years younger than the original, but the people of this era people are sensible early, she really doesn't take advantage of it at all. God, you must not play me. I don't like to say tragically. Jingzhe followed Chu Xia's line of sight to the sky for a while, and found that the sky was still the same sky, and the clouds were still the same clouds. He wondered why someone was gritting his teeth at the sky, so he asked, Chu Xia, what's wrong? Ah, Mao Xia came back to his senses, and smiled dryly, look at the sky tomorrow, it will be windy and cloudy. Hey, my father's legs are not good, I'm worried about him. You can also watch the sky. Lin Wenbin looked at Chu Xia in surprise. Sister, you can even watch this. How normal, how many people in the village don't know how to read? Chu Xia curled her lips. It's fine to ask in front of me, I'm your sister and don't laugh at you, you should pay more attention in front of others, it will affect you too much image. Lin Wenbin looked at her anxiously. Xia, what image do I have in your eyes? It looks manly, practical, and elegant. Haha. Jingzhe laughed loudly. Chu Xia, you don't need to be so concerned about his face, he's still very elegant, haha. Lin Wenbin, who was still flattered at first, was smiled by him, and immediately understood, and glared at the two of them bitterly. For the time being, I will break up with you. After speaking, he strode into the courtyard. Brother, you're so annoying. Chu Xia glared at Jingzhe, and couldn't help laughing. Actually, I mean exactly what Big Brother said, haha. Lin Wenbin, who was very happy when he heard the first half of Chu Xia's sentence, was completely disappointed after hearing the second half, and felt that he would never love again. His sister, who cared so much, laughed at him for not being a man enough. Chu Xia, what are you doing here and there? When entering the door, Zhao Yulan pulled Chu Xia aside. Even if Xiao Zhe and Wenbin are brothers, you should be careful, you are married, didn't mother tell you? Mother, I'll tell you tonight. After a pause, Chu Xia scratched her head in embarrassment. I'm meddling in my own business today, mother, I promise, I won't meddle in my own business in the future, and won't let my parents worry about it. Zhao Yulan saw her saying this, so she stopped asking and pushed her, go into the room and have a chat with your aunt, the old lady has been looking for you. After getting along for an afternoon, the several families have become familiar with each other. The longest generation is sitting in the house chatting. Grandpa Lin, Grandma Lin, and Taigu Grandma have also lived in the countryside, and Mrs. Zhao are unexpectedly there are a lot of common topics, and there are people who have common concerns, and the chatter becomes more and more intimate. As soon as Chu Xia entered the door, Taigu's grandma waved at her, little Chu Xia, what are you busy with, you can't find anyone all afternoon. Sister, you don't even play with me. Xiao Miao Miao also had a resentful expression on her face. I went to help a sister fight bad guys, and now that I'm done beating the bad guys, I'm back. Chu Xia held Miao Miao in her arms, and whispered to the aunt about the busy work in the afternoon. The old lady also had a great sense of justice. After listening to her, she nodded her head and said, Xia, you are right. The grand aunt supports you. By the way, is that personality called Lin Chuxia okay? It's okay. Chu Xia recounted the incident of the other party pretending to be her name. Grandma, I think it's not easy for her, and after something happened, I didn't complain. She really thinks that I blocked her way, and even deliberately went to apologize to me. From this point of view, her character is still desirable, right? Yeah, the old lady nodded. The family happens to be short of a staff member. When you go back, you can ask her. If she is willing, let her go with her. The back office that the old lady mentioned is actually a nanny, but it is not the same thing as an ordinary nanny. After Mr. Chiao retires, according to the system, he can have 2 office staff in the establishment, even if he is not working at Jiao's house one day. It can also be arranged to other veteran cotters' homes, or to local units. To put it bluntly, this is an absolute iron rice bowl. Okay, I'll ask her tomorrow. I think she should be willing. But grandma, if she is suitable, you can keep her. If she is not suitable, you can fire her. I don't have much faith with her. I just think a name is fate. Share. Fearing that the old lady would be in trouble in the future, Chu Xia emphasized it. Little girl thinks a lot. The old lady smiled and shook her head. Okay, I'll figure it out. Do you think the old lady is just that stupid? Keep it if it's not suitable. Chu Xia shook her head solemnly. I didn't think that way, I just don't want my aunt to do embarrassing things because of me. The old lady looked helpless. You are still a child, why are you married? Sister is married. Meow Meow stared at Chu Xia with wide eyes. Sister, are you really married? Is it the kind of marriage where you want to have a baby? Chu Xia didn't hold back, and admitted frankly, yes. Unexpectedly, the little girl immediately scratched her face with her fingers. No shame, no shame, no shame. Little thing, how dare you laugh at me? Chu Xia stretched out her hand to scratch her armpit, and the two of them started arguing wildly on the bed. Zhao Yulan looked helpless when she heard her daughter giggling outside. Explain to everyone making dumplings together, this is in front of relatives, she is happy, usually, it is not like this. Knowing her thoughts, Zhang Xinwan said, Yulan, if the children have to pretend in front of us, is it still a family? That's right, they're all from her natal family, and the age of the children is different. If they are really old-fashioned, you will be even more worried. After saying this, Li Aiwan sighed slightly. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 433. This is almost 3 chapters, and they will be published together. Dear friends, don't forget to count the votes. Sister-in-law, Kiwi is much more cheerful. Besides, she has a quiet temperament, unlike Chu Xia, who was a monkey when she was a child. Knowing that Li Aiwan was worried about Zhao Kiwi, Zhao Yulan went to her and whispered to her. Seeing that the Chinese New Year is coming, and I'm going to be a year older, how can I not worry? Li Aiwan couldn't help sighing. We can't let her see that we are anxious in front of her, but we can delay it for a day or two. What should I do? Zhao Kiwi was exactly 24 years old after the New Year, and it was very difficult to find someone of a decent age. Zhao Yulan didn't know how to comfort her for a while, so she just sighed. The appearance of the sister-in-law and sister-in-law caught Xiao Ying's attention, so she asked suspiciously, what's the matter with the second sister-in-law and sister-in-law Aiwan? If it's convenient, tell me, and we can help you out. Zhang Xinwan, who made the dumplings and put them on the cover mat, also said, yes, we are all a family, and we will solve any difficulties together, don't worry about it yourself. No one can help you with this matter, you have to rely on the child. Li Aiwan hesitated for a moment, then told about Zhao Kiwi and Zhao Yuanbao. Of course, she didn't tell the truth about Zhao Yuanbao's character. She was gone, and she didn't want to tell the other parties bad things from her own mouth. Maid. Speaking up. Yuanbao's father and Yuanbao's mother are also very pitiful, since Yuanbao is gone. The mental head is gone all of a sudden, the two of them are just 50. It looks like 60 or 70, if there are 2 married daughters who come back to see the couple from time to time, it is hard to say whether they can survive. What's more, there was an old lady in her 70s paralyzed on the Kong. Looking at the big family, they were pitiful everywhere. Up. What's the use of hating? Those who are alive are already sad enough, why sprinkle another pinch of salt on their wounds? The problem was that she had concealed it so much. Qiao Ying and Zhang Xinwan, who didn't know the truth, took it for granted that Zhao Qiui's unhappiness was due to their inability to let go of their relationship with Zhao Yuanbao. This actually made the two of them agree with Li Aiwan's statement that no one can help, only the child can rely on himself, and they sighed and sighed. Zhao Yulan watched helplessly, but after all, she was not very familiar with Jiaoying and Zhang Xinwan. It's not easy to tell the truth, but she has an idea and wants to go back and discuss it with Lin Baohe. Just at this time, Zhao Qiui came back from the outside. Seeing that everyone was busy making dumplings, I was a little embarrassed, after saying hello. Hurry up to wash your hands and come over to help. Where's Chu Xia? She asked Zhao Yulan. Zhao Yulan nodded her chin into the room. It's inside. I was arguing with Miao Miao just now. I guess you're angry with me. Zhao Qiui smiled flatteringly at Zhao Yulan. Sister, can you say something nice for me? Okay. What's going on? Zhao Yulan was puzzled, looking at the way she came back just now. She doesn't look angry. When Chuxia went to pick us up from my grandma's village, Zhao Qiui told a few people about a series of things that happened in the afternoon. In fact, at this moment, she also wanted to hear the opinions of the elders. After believing the man, she was also a little ambiguous and uncertain. However, she also believed that Chu Xia knew Lin Chuxia better than they knew Yao Xinchen, so she persuaded Suqin to be more cautious, but Suqin couldn't listen to it, and after a long time of persuasion, she strengthened the other party's determination. Next, she's back. It's not that she is willing to meddle in other people's business, but after all, she is a good sister who grew up together, and she doesn't want to see the other party being cheated. If it is really like what Lin Chuxia said, Yao Xinchen has a problem with his absolute quality. A man would probably be nice to Suqin for the sake of profit at first, but after a long time, when he has a child, his true colors will probably be revealed. By then, it will be too late to regret, and his whole life will probably be ruined. After listening to her account of the cause and effect, Li Aiwan was the first to vote against it. It doesn't matter whether the girl who shares the same name as Xia in our family is telling the truth or not, just because of his enthusiasm for Xiaoqin's job as a worker in the county, it doesn't matter. What a treat. Well, that's the reason. Zhao Yulan sighed. It's easy to make this kind of mistake when you're young. Qiui, wait 2 days before persuading her, she probably won't listen to what you say right now. Went in. That man is indeed not a good thing, Jiao Ying interjected, but I have to say, this man is a little quick-witted. Most people will definitely panic when they encounter this scene. How can they quickly fight back and win? Yeah, Zhao Qiui nodded. At first, I thought he was not a thing, but seeing his explanation without changing his face, I doubted my judgment, let alone the one who was optimistic about him before. Suqin. Sister-in-law, Chu Xia is quite good at judging people at such a young age. Jiao Ying looked at Zhao Yulan with a smile. You still think she has a childish temper? I see, it's not easy to make her suffer. Praise me. Chu Xia led Miao Miao out and said with a smile. Xia. Zhao Qiui smiled flatteringly at her. Send that Lin Chuxia home. Well, I sent it back. Chu Xia looked at her amusedly. Sister, why are you guilty? I'm afraid you'll be angry with me. Zhao Qiui looked at her calmly. I should have believed you, but at that time I was shaken. I'm not that narrow-minded yet. Chu Xia moved to Zhao Qiui's side with a gossipy face. How did Suqin decide in the end? How else can I decide? Zhao Qiui smiled wryly. Yao Xinchen was the first man she fell in love with. Now she believes in Yao Xinchen with all her heart. In fact, when we told her about Yao Xinchen's resignation, don't you think she is a little dubious? Otherwise, she wouldn't suggest that we bring Lin Chuxia to confront her. I really regret listening to her now, but in the end I made Brother Lin and Brother Jing to follow suit. Xia. I'm sorry, I won't cause you this kind of trouble again. Chu Xia waved his hand. It's okay. Whether Suqin believes it or not, I feel that the work was not in vain. At least, that Lin Chuxia can fully understand what kind of person Yao Xinchen is through this matter, and he can do it in the future, accept others frankly, and no longer worry about why he divorced her. As for Suqin, we gave her a chance to see Yao Xinchen clearly. If she insists on not believing it and jumping into the fire pit, then there is really nothing she can do about it, and her future will be better. She can only blame herself. Sister, you have done your best, so stop taking responsibility on yourself. You are not her parents, and you have no obligation to let her hate you now in order to let her live well. Zhao Qiwei smiled bitterly and said, her parents won't offend her just to make her live better, they just want to get more gifts from her, alas. If I don't help her wink, no one will care her life. Chu Xia showed disapproval on her face, she still has to live her own life, and besides, you think you are doing it for her own good, but she may think that you are objecting because of jealousy. Zhao Qiwei sighed and nodded, it's possible. Ever since her sister-in-law agreed to take her to the city as a worker, all the young men and women in the village have been envious. She probably can't be trusted by anyone now, or else she wouldn't. You can't listen to my advice at all. Chu Xia curled her lips, if this is the case, she chose the wrong person. She can't blame others. Zhao Yulan felt that her daughter's words were reasonable, but it would make people feel a little heartless. She didn't want the relatives she had just met to dislike her daughter because of this, so she looked at Jiao Ying and Zhang Xinwan worriedly. Second sister-in-law. Didn't we say earlier that Chu Xia looks very much like her grandma? Now we find that her personality is very similar to her grandma. She is kind-hearted, but not indecisive, and she does things simply and neatly. If the old lady is alive, she must be treated like a treasure. I don't know if it was because of seeing Zhao Yulan's eyes, Zhang Xinwan made such a speech. When I was in the hospital, I thought Chu Xia had a good personality, Jiao Ying said, using her arm to crutch Miao Miao who was standing beside her. Didn't you admire your sister Chu Xia? She can't look like her, and her personality is like hers. That will do. Auntie, are you praising me on purpose to reassure my mother? Chu Xia smiled calmly, we are relatives, I don't want to pretend in front of you, for me, it is worth my kindness to him. People, I will really treat him well, it's not worth it, what does life and death have to do with me? Everyone in the Lin family has such a temper. When I see you later, your sister-in-law must like you very much. She has such a personality, Zhang Xinwan said and looked at Zhao Yulan. Sister, I didn't say that to make you happy. After getting along with us for a long time, you will know that what I said is true or false. Jiao Ying laughed, second sister-in-law still doesn't think we are a family, otherwise, how could there be such scruples? No, Zhao Yulan wanted to explain, but found that what he said was fundamentally correct, so she smiled embarrassingly and was speechless. Li Aiwan quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Turning around, she wanted to tell her husband and parents-in-law about this scene, so that they could also relax. The old man and Mrs. Lin in the past only knew about exploitation, but now these real relatives, although we just met, but we can tell at a glance that we sincerely treat them as relatives, and even want to make up for it. Speaking of it, my sister-in-law has finally come to the end of her hardships. When the dumplings came out of the pot, the second uncle Zhao Yushui and the second aunt Lin Xiahua came, and as soon as they entered the door, Lin Xiahua took Zhao Yulan's arm affectionately. Little sister, I heard that your Jiabao has found a rich relative, so let me tell you, the little sister is blessed. No, the blessing comes as soon as it is said. We are all blessed, our family Qian, the one who is married now is a good one, her in-laws treat her well, treat her like a baby, Zhenqiang is also a good child, listen to her in everything. Speaking of which, I have to thank Xiaomei's family for this matter. If it wasn't for Chuxia's joy, she would never meet Zhenqiang, and it would be impossible to have such a good life. Wherever she wants to go, no matter how busy Zhenqiang is at work, she will go with her. Little sister, You can't be so spoiled by son-in-law Xia, how can you just let Xia come back by himself? No matter how big the official is, he still has to hurt his wife. Do you think it makes sense? Dare to show off. Zhao Yulan was embarrassed to turn against her, but it doesn't mean that Chu Xia was also embarrassed. She stepped forward and pulled Zhao Yulan's arm out of Lin Xiaohua's hand, and looked at Lin Xiaohua with a fake smile. Who are you? Li, my mother, stay away. The smile on Lin Xiaohua's face stopped immediately, and then she slapped her hands, but she didn't wait for her to show off. Zhao Yushan came out holding Zhao Yushui's neck. Take this sweet potato and go, if you let her come again. My parents don't have your son, and I don't have your brother. Lin Xiaohua is not afraid of Zhao Yushui. It didn't mean that she wasn't afraid of Zhao Yushan. After what happened last time, she knew that no one in this world could treat her unconditionally except Zhao Yushui. If her daughter had married a good family before, she would have left Zhao Yushui to enjoy life, but now, she would not be so foolish as to think that her son-in-law's family would really support her unconditionally. Want to live a stable life? She still has to be with Zhao Yushui, and after living with Zhao Yushui for so many years, she also knows that Zhao Yushui is honest and useless, but extremely filial. If she wants to stay by his side for the rest of her life, she must let her parents-in-law and elder brother accept her own. During this period of time, she has actually been flattering the old man, the old lady, and the uncles and sisters-in-law, but everyone treats her indifferently. When she came here just now, she did come to congratulate her after hearing the rumors outside, but when she saw Chu Xia, the humiliation she had suffered in the past welled up in her heart, and she couldn't help but want to stab her a few words. Unexpectedly, it made the elder brother angry. At this moment, she was really regretful, and immediately retracted her hands, with a flattering smile on her face. Brother, many people have asked about our little brother-in-law's family, but we don't know anything. We are just afraid outsiders think that our family is not in harmony, so I came here with Yushui. Magnolia. I was wrong, Chu Xia, I'm sorry, my little aunt doesn't hate you anymore. In fact, my little aunt escaped all the way back by herself to blame herself and not you. My little aunt knows. Well, at this time, he still didn't forget to put eye drops on himself. Chu Xia rolled his eyes at her, and dragged Zhao Yulan into the room. Mother, let's go in for dinner. Bad woman, Miao Miao, who was following Chu Xia, was now a solid supporter of Chu Xia, glared at Lin Xiaohua, moved into the threshold, and closed the door with a bang. Let's go, Zhao Yushui sighed sullenly, and walked out with her head drooping. Today is different, so Lin Xiaohua had to follow up quickly. When she reached the door, she couldn't help but look back. Her eyes were full of jealousy. After dinner, Grandpa Tai, Grandpa Lin, and Chu Xia's family returned to Dalian village. The Kong in the new house was very big. Women squeezed into a big Kong, men squeezed into a big Kong, and it took one night to make do. The Kong was warmed by the fat ant, and everyone who was tired all day fell asleep after touching the Kong. At 5 o'clock in the morning, Zhao Yulan got up carefully to make breakfast, and Xiao Ying, who was extremely alert in her sleep, also got up carefully. As a result, she wanted to be a helper, but after helping for a while, she had no choice but to be honest. Sit aside as a spectator. Second sister-in-law, you are really capable. After watching for a while, Xiao Ying praised sincerely. Zhao Yulan just laughed. Siblings are really good at boasting. There are no children who grew up in the countryside who can't cook pots and stoves. Sisters are really amazing. Not everyone can do the work of curing diseases and saving lives. It's called each has its own strengths, but to be honest, if the second sister-in-law studies medicine, she will definitely be a good one. You can tell by how agile you are. It's just my big thick hand, or is it a good one? Zhao Yulan sat down and stretched out her hand to Xiao Ying while pulling the bellows. It's not like a brother and sister, like a spring onion, It's just a coincidence. Xiao Ying laughed, it's so coincidental that I burn and put out the fire for my sister-in-law once, haha. After a moment of hesitation, she said, second sister-in-law, I will kiss you. Zhao Yulan was taken aback, and immediately understood what she meant. Che Yelai was Xiao Ying's aunt, and Xiao Ying told her in a disguised form that although Che Yelai was her own aunt, she would not love her. She was grateful. He smiled and said nothing. At 6 o'clock, everyone got up one after another, and Zhao Yulan put breakfast on the table, white and fat bean buns, golden corn cakes, soft boiled sweet potatoes, sticky millet porridge. There is appetite. Looking at the two tables full of people, Grandpa Lin couldn't help but sigh, it's been so many years since we had such a lively breakfast. The grand aunt nodded in agreement, yes, I'm all busy, and I can't even make it up for the new year. Meow Meow pouted and raised her hands to speak, I really like eating with a lot of people, it's delicious. Xiao Ying pulled off her hand and said with a smile, usually let her have a good breakfast, you have to beat her. Zhao Yulan sighed helplessly, when the child was young, she didn't like to eat, and Xia was the same when she was young. The family was poor, and she was picky about food. She was as thin as a bamboo pole. My father and I almost made her worry to death. Let's just play this year. Only then will I know how to eat well. Chu Xia pouted secretly, it wasn't her at all, was it? Why? It's a scapegoat, it's decided. Most importantly, there seems to be a lot of people talking about this kind of scapegoat. Meow Meow stared at her with bright eyes, Sister Chuxia, no wonder I watched you kiss, we have the same personality. Children's thinking is so simple. If you like someone, you will feel that the common ground with the other person is beautiful, but where is all this? What is the same personality? Well, the child who didn't graduate from primary school spoke, it really didn't make sense, a certain summer was faintly sad. Not long after breakfast, the ox carts carrying paper horses, paper donkeys, and other things to the grave also arrived at the door. Chen Jiangxing came with him, and he helped to handle this matter. After some chatter, everyone loaded the burning paper and offerings into another bullock cart. At this time, more than a dozen people who are very close to each other, including Grandpa Dagong, Chen Jianfeng, Luo Gangshun, and Aunt Fat, all came here. A group of people went to the cemetery mightily. In terms of seniority, Taigo's grandmother is the oldest, so she doesn't need to go, but after so many years. She has been thinking about this matter in her heart, and she will go to the grave to talk about it no matter what. Shenzhen. Qing it's my sister-in-law's fault for letting you stay here all these years. My sister-in-law always takes chances. I always hope that one day you will appear in front of me. I know it's a dream, but I lied to myself, sister-in-law, I'm sorry. The old lady cried and fell to the ground as she spoke. Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan hurried forward to comfort her. After finally persuading the old lady, Grandpa Lin and Grandma Lin took all the juniors to pay homage to the younger brothers and sisters who had been alone in a foreign land for so many years, and then Grandpa Dagong presided over the opening of the grave ceremony. The soil on the top was newly added, and the grave was easily completely dug up. The upper part of a thin coffin was already rotten, and it shattered when touched by hands. Looking at the pile of bones spread inside, let alone Taigo Grandma and Grandpa Lin, those who lived with them, even Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan, who had never seen them, were crying so hard. Grandpa Dagong, who was standing aside, sighed heavily. He decided to buy this pair of thin coffins with money from the public account and added a little more himself. Otherwise, what he saw now would be a pile of stalls. Bones in the ground. From this point of view, Old Man Lin and Mrs. Lin are indeed cruel enough. After all, these two couples died to save their son, and they left so much property in their hands, but they were able to lie to everyone without any burden, and did something unrelated to this matter. Bystander. Rulian was made by Lin Baohe's son himself. In fact, the remains were put into 2 bundles, and then buried in the coffin after arriving at the ancestral grave of the Lin family. It is already grand enough to be able to do this. If he really came with the coffin, it is estimated that someone would intercept it for investigation before he was buried in the ground. As for whether the result will be bearable, it is really something that I dare not say. Without any delay, the group left the ancestral grave in Dalian village and set off for the capital. Of course Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan would accompany them. In early summer, they took Jingzhe aside to discuss quietly and asked him to go back first. Otherwise, this delay would take several more like this, she is already very embarrassed. Jingzhe rejected her proposal. He said, "My brother-in-law told me to take good care of you and send you back to Zhou's house after the matter is completely finished, then I will complete the task." Unexpectedly, they had to say goodbye after the first meeting, and Fat and Luo Gangshun were extremely reluctant. Zhao Yulan, who had just cried for a while, smiled forcedly, "We'll come back when we're done with our parents-in-law. When we return to City A, we'll be together. Don't you guys want to see Hunky's girlfriend?" "Okay, that's it." Fat Auntie hugged Zhao Yulan and patted her hard. "Yulan, I'm actually happy for you. You and Baohe have survived, and you don't need any messy relatives here in the future. Never mind, they like to make troubles, so don't bother with them from now on." Yeah, Zhao Yulan nodded solemnly, "I'll listen to you, and I won't talk to them in the future. Originally, I thought they raised Baohe, but today, when I saw the remains of her father-in-law and her mother-in-law, I was serious. Gratitude is gone. With a black heart to this extent, is he still human?" At this time, Old Man Lin and Mrs. Lin were also among the crowd watching the excitement. Her face was very ugly, but she was sensible and did not come to make trouble, and was made very uncomfortable by the strange eyes of the people around her, so Old Man Lin snorted coldly and turned around walking home. Mrs. Lin quickly followed. Second Grandpa Lin and Second Grandma Lin, who stood behind them, hesitated for a moment, but instead of following, they squeezed in front of Lin Baohe. "Wipe away tears and say, 'Poor child. You finally found your loved one, we are happy for you.'" When Zhang Yuzheng rushed to Xiaolin village, the convoy had left for a long time, and the spectators were all gone. He knocked on the door of Zhao Yulan's new house for a long time, but no one answered, and the fat ant came over. "What are you doing?" Fat ant also knew him, and she frowned. "Your wife is looking for Yulan's affairs when she has nothing to do. Why are you here to make trouble? Is it because your wife is not embarrassing enough?" "You are." Zhang Yuzheng had scolded her in an official tone before, but now he didn't dare. Just smiled flatteringly. "I don't have a very good memory, and I can't match the numbers for a while." "You don't need to match the numbers, I don't care too much." The fat ant stared at him. "Are you here to apologize?" "Yes, yes, yes." Zhang Yuzheng nodded again and again. "I just came to apologize to Yulan. It was my bastard's fault. Hey, I was too angry after I knew it. I scolded her severely, and came to find her in person." Yulan apologized, and Che Yelai has already made a promise that she will never trouble Yulan again. If I hadn't stopped her, she would have apologized in person. "Oh," Fat Ant replied. "I'll tell Yulan about this, and you can go." "Can I talk to her myself?" "As you like." Fat Ant shook her hand and left. "She has left Dalian village. If you can find her, just tell me yourself." "Where did he go?" Zhang Yuzheng caught up with the fat ant in 2 or 3 steps. "Please tell me, where did she go?" "I can't." Fat ant turned around and entered the door, and closed the door with a bang. Now her hands are itching badly, and she just wants to punch the other party half to death. Luo Gangshun came out of the room and looked at her suspiciously. "What's wrong with you? Who are you lucky with?" The fat ant held her chest and let out a long sigh of relief. Zhang Yuzheng came to look for Yulan, and I got angry when I saw him, but he is in the hospital. If he is beaten to death, it won't be worth it. Luo Gang Shun. Daughter-in-law, you really are a hero among girls. Early the next morning, Chu Xia and his group finally arrived at the ancestral grave of the Lin family in the capital, and Lin's Hilling also came. Sure enough, as everyone said, it was 80% similar to Chu Xia. The remains of the Shenzhen couple were buried in the ground. Everything here has long been handed over to the relevant people. At this time, it is only necessary to move the remains into the coffin and seal the grave in the cave. Back at the house at noon, everyone was too tired to talk. After eating a few mouthfuls of food, they rested in the arranged rooms. It was not until evening that they all recovered. Needless to say, this dinner was lively. Lin Zhiling and Chu Xia really had a bad temper, holding Chu Xia's hand, and couldn't see enough of Chu Xia's 200% suspicion that the other party was missing her girlhood. Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan wanted to stay at the Lin family in the capital for a few more days to get to know everyone and visit relatives. They returned to City A with Jingxia early the next morning in early summer. First go to Mr. Wan to say hello, then hurried to Zhou's house. "Mom, I'm back." It was Lin Yangkai who opened the door. Chu Xia smiled and hugged her and walked in. Seeing the old lady Zhou sitting in the living room, she said sweetly, "Grandma, I'm back." Lin Yangkai, who came back to his senses, laughed and joked, "You really don't like nagging, kid. Grandma was still nagging me about you just now, so you came back." A 4 or 5-year-old girl hid behind Mrs. Zhou, timidly staring at Chu Xia. Seeing Chu Xia's gaze fell on the little girl, Mrs. Zhou said, "This is Ying Iping's daughter." As she spoke, she pulled the little girl in front of her, pointed at Chu Xia, and said, "This is third aunt. Ying says hello to third aunt." The little girl pursed her lips and didn't speak. She shrank straight behind the old lady. The old lady sighed and called Chu Xia to sit down. "Are you tired? Are you done with your grandparents' affairs? Well, it's safe to be buried in the ground yesterday." Chu Xia told the old woman and her mother-in-law in detail about the past few days, and they both sighed, and felt that what old man Lin did was too much. "Where's Grandpa?" Everyone else had gone to work, and Mr. Zhou was not there, so Chu Xia was a little puzzled. The old lady Zhou said, "At such an advanced age, I'm going to use my remaining energy again. I'm going back to the capital with old man yet." "Oh, this kind of question is very sensitive." Chu Xia stopped asking more, and instead asked about other people's situation. The key point of course was to ask how her pregnant sister-in-law Yu Tao was doing now. Lin Yangkai said, "Your sister-in-law is very nice, and her reaction is not so great. I want her to rest at home for a while, but she refuses and has to go to work. Your elder brother will deliver her meals at noon every day and pick her up from get off work at night. It's okay, nothing to worry about." When the few people were talking, Yinger kept shrinking behind the old lady silently. Her big eyes looked back and forth at the several people, and sometimes she looked straight at people, which was quite creepy. After everyone's situation was finished, the old lady sighed, "There has been no news of Iping. The Xiao family can't afford to support this child, so they sent it here." Chu Xia understood that such a big incident happened to Xiao's family, and probably the relatives would not want to get involved, and they had to take care of their parents-in-law and granddaughter. Xiao Binky's wife probably couldn't stand it anymore, so they gave her granddaughter to her. Sent to Zhou's house. After hesitating for a while, Chu Xia asked, "Grandma, Mom, I've been wondering why Yinger doesn't follow Mom and Dad. Iping almost died when she gave birth to this child. She didn't have the energy to take care of her, so she was sent to Xiao Yuan's hometown to be taken care of by Xiao Yuan's mother. Later, her body recovered. When she came back to live, she was crying to death. Lu Yui loved her granddaughter so much that she always took her by her side. Iping wanted to be free, so naturally she wouldn't stop her. This time, if it wasn't really the end of the mountain, Lu Yui would not be able to send her back. In the first 2 days, she cried day and night, and couldn't be coaxed. These 2 days, she finally got better, but she still doesn't love her. Speaking, I am afraid of meeting strangers, but I am willing to meet strangers. This child was raised by his hometown, alas. Sighed, the old lady. Joe didn't say the following words, the meaning was very clear, it was too petty to raise a good child. Seeing that Chuxia's face was a bit tired, Lin Yangkai pushed her away. I'm tired from the journey, so I'll go back to my room and sleep for a while, and I'll call you when I have lunch. It was really exhausting. Chuxia was not hypocritical, stood up and yawned. Grandma, Mom, then I'll go to sleep for a while, go to Grandpa's place to stay longer in the afternoon, and then go see Grandpa Jing and Grandma Jing. I have trouble Jingzhe too much this time, without him, my father would not be able to find his relatives. Lin Yangkai gave her a blank look. Okay, go, I didn't say I would stop you. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 434. Locked 10,000 characters into the small black room in the morning, and only come out now after being forced to work hard. After editing and modifying, it becomes more than 8,000. I am so slow. Although she hasn't come back to live in for more than a week, the room is spotless. Chuxia's heart is full of soft warmth. With such a husband's family, she is happier than Zhao Yulan. She hastily took a shower and threw herself on the bed. After a while, she entered dreamland. She was really tired from running around these days. When I woke up, it was almost 12 noon. I opened my eyes for a while before I realized where I was now, changed my clothes and opened the door, just bumped into Lin Yangkai who came to call her, and the other party smiled stretching out his head. He rushed down and shouted, Mama Lu, put the dumplings in the pot. Chuxia smiled embarrassedly, it's really time for me to get up. Lin Yangkai put her arms around her shoulders and walked down, this is called blessing. I want you to sleep a little longer, or I would have come up to call you earlier. A big smile appeared on Chuxia's lips, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Lin Yangkai smiled and reached out to rub her head, Mom is going to be angry if you are so polite. We are a family, you child, why are you always so far away? I'm thanking my mother for helping me clean the room. How do you know that Mom did the cleaning? What if Lu Mom or Xiaojing did it? Mom said that outsiders are not allowed to clean the bedroom. I said it, Lin Yangkai covered her head with some doubts, when did I tell you, why don't I remember it? Chuxia giggled, Mom didn't tell me. However, the second sister and the fourth sister have told me that Mom is so particular. These two children. Lin Yangkai shook her head helplessly. Then he laughed again, however. Seeing that you are getting along so well, Mom is the happiest. The family can live in harmony and live in harmony. Yet Chuxia nodded vigorously, everything is going well with family harmony. It's more important to fill your stomach first. Mrs. Joe smiled as she watched the two get down, and pushed the little girl beside her. Ying what did your grandma teach you? The little girl looked at Chuxia timidly, her mouth shrunk. Howled loudly. Chuxia frightened, Ying if you cry again, Auntie will finish eating the dumplings, so you won't be able to eat any of them. The little girl stopped crying immediately. He ran to the table at a very fast speed, saw that the dumplings hadn't been put on the table, closed his eyes, opened his mouth, and howled earth-shatteringly again. Hey, Mrs. Joe sighed helplessly, and stepped forward to caress her back. Ying if you cry again, there will really be no dumplings to eat. Be obedient. Say hello to Aunt, and Aunt will give you dumplings. Aunt, okay. Xiao Ying looked at Chuxia hiccuping and crying, how pitiful she looked. Chuxia couldn't feel sorry for her. The child sounded sad, but did not shed a few tears. From a very young age, he liked to play tricks to attract the attention of others. Such a child is what she hates the most. However, after all, it is her husband's family, and she is an adult, and she is not good at understanding like a child, so she smiled at the other party. I am teasing you, no matter what happens, I can't let Ying go hungry, right? The little girl looked at her with her mouth puffed out. You are a villain. The old lady Joe frowned slightly. Of course she could see Ying performance clearly. However, it was a pity that she was not cared by her parents at such a young age, so she was more tolerant of her, but if her temper continued like this, she would really be Joe Iping came second, and she still had Xiao Yuan's cunning in her bones, so her voice became severe. Ying, why do you call my aunt a villain? Ah! The howling sounded again. Lin Yangkai helplessly covered her ears. Mom, we can't let her be like this, we can't let her feel that as long as she cries, we have to ignore her. This child is using this method to prove her existence to us. She has gotten better in the past 2 days, because she feels that her mother has always treated her best, and she has a sense of security. When Chu Xia came back today, she clearly felt our concern for Chu Xia, and felt that she was about to fall out of favor, so she repeated the old tricks, thinking of strengthening her position with this. I don't want to put this kind of thinking on a child, but her performance makes me think so, or she didn't do it on purpose, it's just a subconscious self-protection, but she must be corrected, or else the bigger it is, the harder it is to change. Let's eat Mrs. Joe looked at Mama Lu. Don't serve it to Ying, let her cry. After everyone started eating, the little girl glanced at a few people through her fingers, then closed her eyes and opened her mouth wide and began to soar. I have to say that this child's physical strength and voice are really extraordinary. After everyone finished their meal, her voice was as high-pitched as ever. At the bottom, put the chopsticks. Grandma, Mom, I'm going to Grandpa Wan's house. Chu Xia ran away as if fleeing, her ears were almost deaf and when she left, the child probably stopped speaking, and everyone was liberated. Sure enough, as soon as Chu Xia went out, Ying's crying stopped immediately. She took her little hand from her eyes, and grinned at Mrs. Joe. Grandma, I'm hungry. She wanted to refuse to give her food, but seeing the child's pitiful eyes, the old lady finally relented and asked Lu Ma to bring over a plate of dumplings, and Lin Yangkai went upstairs without saying a word. After a while, the old lady followed and looked at Lin Yangkai amusedly. Do you think I'm biased? Lin Yangkai said truthfully, anyway, I don't agree with Mom's way. Chu Xia and Xiaomi left soon after they got married. She wasn't close enough to this family. I don't think Chu Xia will be willing to make Ying go through such a torment. Come back to live. When Xiaomi comes back, how do we explain to him? It's not like he doesn't know what kind of bad temper he is. Anyway, I'm already worried now. Of course I know that this way is wrong, but she is just a child of a few years old, there is some reason. She doesn't understand, or this is her usual way in Xiao's house, we will change it for her at once. Probably impossible. Besides, if we deliberately protect her and discipline Ying in front of Chu Xia, don't you think it will make her more uncomfortable? Hey, Lin Yangkai sighed heavily and stopped talking. Yes, deliberate protection will probably make Chu Xia feel like an outsider even more, probably, only time can solve all this. Chu Xia first went to Wan Lao's house, and told the old man about the past few days in detail, which caused the old man to sigh. I didn't expect that He turned out to be a child of the Lin family in the capital. Alas, although it's a little late, but I found it's a good thing. Yeah, it seems that the Lin family is also very easy to get along with. My parents shouldn't be offended. They will go back to the village for a few days before they come back. We're not here. Isn't Grandpa a little lonely? Yes, Mr. Wan nodded. When they left, I was not taken lightly. I was used to calling them when it was time to eat a few days ago. He pointed to a bag in the corner. I asked Mrs. Yin to pick it up. Some matchboxes came back to paste. However, after a while, they felt boring, so they piled up there. They also always talk about Grandpa. They kept telling me to visit Grandpa every day after I came back. They also told me that as long as the teacher doesn't let me live in the dormitory, let me come back every day, so that I can be a companion with Grandpa. Mr. Wan looked at her wonderingly. Why, did you have a bad conversation with your mother-in-law's family? No. Mr. Wan had a look of disbelief. Then how do you live here every day? Didn't it be agreed that 1 day at a time, and then 1 week at a time when you live in a dormitory? Hey, Chu Xia sighed with a bitter face. Grandpa, can you stop being so smart? You know there is an extra girl in the Zhou family, right? The old man nodded. I know. When the child was first brought here, he cried for several days. You can hear it from a long distance outside. It has already spread in our yard. Chu Xia sighed again. I haven't cried these days, but when I saw me, I couldn't cry anymore. I thought, I'd better not live in the past and make everyone sleep badly. When will she see me? I'm crying, I'll go live again. Mr. Wan nodded. Okay, then stay here first, and I will explain to your old lady later that you are here to let them rest well, not to care about a child. Thank you, Grandpa. Chu Xia rubbed his arms on the old man's arm, and asked suspiciously, by the way, where is Mrs. Yin? Her aunt and uncle came to see her, and I asked her to accompany them to go around. She grew up in her parents' when she was young, which is equal to her half-mother. Chu Xia glanced at the time and said, then Grandpa and I will go to Grandpa and Grandma Jing's house to sit for a while. Thanks to Jingzhe's help this time, I want to visit them. Mr. Wan got up and said, okay, anyway, I'm fine if I'm idle at home. After sitting at Jing's house for a while, Chu Xia seemed to run away. There was no way. Jingzhe went to the hospital within 10 minutes after arriving home, and Zhu Xingkan, who was full of doubts, of course dragged her to find out. For fear of exposing Jing Mo Nian's old relationship, Mao Xia could only reason that she had made an appointment with Zhou Xiangping, and ran away quickly. Why does this child look wrong? After Chu Xia's figure disappeared, Zhu Xingkan looked at Mr. Wan wonderingly. Uncle Wan, could it be that the Lin family in the capital has a bad attitude and she didn't say anything because she was afraid we would worry? Mr. Wan said, no, I have dealt with people from the Lin family in the capital, and they have pretty good personalities. I also told me in early summer that the Lin family treated them well. Otherwise, Baohe and Yulan wouldn't be able to stay. I think the child probably hasn't adapted to being a daughter-in-law. Is she afraid that her in-laws won't like her? Chu Xia's willingness to marry into Zhou's family is because they burn high incense. How dare they dislike things? Zhu Xingkan snorted. No, I'll go and see. If Lin Yangkai dares to play her mother-in-law's prestige, I have to support Chu Xia. Wouldn't it add to the chaos if you went there? Old Man Wan hurriedly said. Xiao Zhe accompanied Chu Xia to complete the whole process of admitting relatives, and if you go to protect the calf so confidently, do you think you are doing it for Chu Xia's good or harming Chu Xia? I just can't swallow this breath. It's the Zhou family who stole my daughter-in-law, and I don't know how to cherish it. Lin Yangkai sat back bitterly. What a beautiful girl, how can she be willing to bully her? Mr. Wan looked impatiently at Mrs. Jing, Mrs. Jing who was sitting on the sidelines. Can't you guys say a word? Mrs. Jing snorted coldly. You stole our granddaughter-in-law, what else do you want us to say? Old Man Jing also curled his lips. That's right, we're not stupid. Mr. Wan was speechless. The relationship between Xiao Zheng and Xiao Zhe has been confirmed. You still have such an attitude. What does Xiao Zheng think? We are quite satisfied with Xiao Zheng. The three said in unison. Then what are you doing? That's my granddaughter. Of course I protect her, Mr. Jing said as a matter of course, and Mrs. Jing nodded in agreement. Seeing this, Zhu Xingkan quickly expressed her opinion, Chu Xia is my daughter-in-law. If her mother is not here, I will not protect her, who will protect her? Mr. Wan sat upright, with a serious face, with me here, who dares to bully Chu Xia? Several people. Chu Xia went out and thought about it, and decided to go to Zhou Xiangping's house. As a result, Zhou Xiangping's mother-in-law told her that Zhou Xiangping had gone to town with Liao Hui. It may take a few days to return. She didn't know anyone else in this yard, and she left in a hurry and forgot to bring the key of Grandpa Wan's house, so she had no choice but to wander back to Zhou's house. Fortunately, Ying'er was probably too tired from crying, and she has not woken up until now. Mrs. Zhou and Lin Yangkai were sitting in the living room chatting, and seeing Chu Xia come back, they were both surprised. Xia, come here and drink some water. Lin Yangkai greeted her and poured her a full cup of nourishing tea. You don't need nourishment at your age, but it's better to plan ahead than replenish later. What is this soaked in? Chu Xia sat down. He poked his head and looked into the teapot. Rose, Chinese wolfberry, chrysanthemum. Jujube soaked in water, plus honey. It is said that it is very good for the body. I don't know much about these. Your aunt taught me. The aunt is Lin Yanmei, also Zheng Meili's mother. Have Auntie and Mei Li been here recently? Chu Xia asked out of words. I just came here the day before yesterday. By the way, Chu Xia, you can accompany me to a dinner party tonight. I originally wanted to find Mei Li to accompany me, but Xiao Zhe came back. It would not be such a big deal if I dragged her out again. Son, you are back, just stay with me, okay? Okay, I'll go with Mom. Chu Xia happily agreed. Of course, she couldn't help this matter. Her mother-in-law even mentioned it. Can she say that I won't go with you? Lin Yangkai hurried to call Zheng Meili. The old lady Zhou pointed to the place beside her, and Chu Xia cuddled up to her affectionately. She thought that the old lady wanted to tell her about Ying'er, but unexpectedly, the old lady lowered her voice. Some women will people, you don't have to talk nonsense with them, just pour wine on them, and if something goes wrong, Grandma will take care of you. Chu Xia smiled and nodded, okay, with Grandma around, I'm going to be bold. My granddaughter-in-law, no one can bully me except me. The old lady snorted, if there are those who don't have eyes, don't blame the old lady for not saving face for them. Grandma, from what you said, the banquet tonight is quite scary. Who are they? Why are you targeting me? Chu Xia asked curiously. The old birthday star of the Zhang family celebrated her 96th birthday today, and everyone in the circle went to celebrate her birthday. There are too many people, and it is inevitable that there will be some incompatibility. Of course, it may not be aimed at you. Grandma is giving you a vaccination. Grandma, are you going with me too? Well, I will go too, and your sister-in-law will go too. We are old and pregnant, so we want Mei Li to accompany us. When Xia comes back, we won't bother Mei Li, the old lady said intentionally. Lowering her voice, she said mysteriously, Grandma has been looking forward to Xia's return these days. My granddaughter-in-law looks so good looking, so what if she doesn't show off? Grandma. Knowing that the old lady deliberately expressed her attitude in this way, Chu Xia was still a little embarrassed. How can you boast in front of others? Hey. The old lady laughed, when you got married, you all got along with our family, and many of the people who went today have never seen Xia. Xiaomi hasn't been married for so many years, she can say anything, but I held back all my strength to show them that the daughter-in-law married by our Zhou family must be the best. Chu Xia pursed her mouth on purpose. Grandma, if you boast like that again, I won't go with you. By the way, Grandma, we're all going. What about Ying'er? The old lady looked at her with eyes full of admiration. Xia, don't you hate Ying'er? Grandma, how old am I? She is a child. After leaving her family, she will inevitably have an instinctive self-protection. What's so annoying about it? Chusia laughed as she spoke. To put it this way, I was really annoying when I was a child. You can listen to what my parents said about me when I was young. It was a bully. As long as my parents hug other people's children, I can cry half dead. In other words, this matter is the work of the original master, but now, it can be used. Okay, Grandma understands, you child, the longer you get along, the more attractive you will be. The old lady narrowed her eyes with a smile. Your mother was angry at that moment. She thought I was too spoiled for Ying-er. Later, Xia talked to your mother to see if she still dares to wrong you. Why did I wrong Xia? Lin Yangkai came over and looked at the old lady Zhou with a funny face. Mom, you can't deliberately speak ill of me just to make Xia get closer to you. Am I that kind of person? The old lady stared at her daughter-in-law unhappily. Did you get angry with Mom because of Ying-er? Did Mom wrong you? That's right. Lin Yangkai looked at Chu Xia. Third daughter-in-law, do you think Grandma has gone wrong in this matter? Chu Xia smiled helplessly. Grandma, Mom, it's fine. You don't need to explain this matter on purpose, I understand, I'm really fine. It's not pretending, can we turn this matter over? Besides, I don't have any objections to Ying-er in the future, I believe it. Our goal should be the same, that is to turn Ying-er into a real child of the Zhou family. Lin Yangkai breathed a sigh of relief. Mom can rest assured with your words. At 4:30 in the afternoon, Yu Tao came back. In order to accompany her mother-in-law and the old lady to the banquet, she took 2 hours off. She was also very happy to see Chu Xia. Taking advantage of the time when everyone went back to the room to dress up, Chu Xia ran back to Wan's house to ask Mr. Wan for leave. When he saw her coming in, Mr. Wan laughed. You child, where are you scared? Chu Xia smiled embarrassedly. I'm going back to my mother-in-law's house, Grandpa. I'm going to accompany my mother-in-law and the old lady to a banquet tonight, so I probably won't be able to come back to sleep. I'll come back to accompany you for dinner tomorrow, okay? Okay, let's go. The old man waved his hand cheerfully, and then added, Xia, if you have anything to do, keep your husband's house close first. After all, you are their daughter-in-law, so it's easy to talk about with Grandpa. Chu Xia moved to the old man's side and put his arms around his arm. Grandpa, you are like my own grandfather. Although you recognize the relatives of the Lin family now, the relationship between us will never change. Mr. Wan smiled and pushed her. Okay, don't talk to me anymore, go back and tidy up. Girls always have to dress up when they attend a banquet. My granddaughter, I can't let others compare. Don't worry, I won't embarrass you. Chu Xia made a face at the old man, jumped up and ran out. When she got home, the old woman had already changed her clothes and went downstairs. A pair of dark black trousers with a grey top, and a large grey scarf around her neck. She was dressed very plainly, but she seemed to be a very gentle and intellectual old lady. Chu Xia gave a thumbs up. Grandma is so pretty. My grandma is the prettiest. My granddaughter-in-law is so beautiful. My granddaughter-in-law is the best. The old lady returned the same sentence, urging her, hurry up and change clothes. Okay, Chu Xia trotted upstairs, and when he reached the door, he turned around and asked the old lady, Grandma, do you want to wear a military uniform? The old lady hurriedly said, don't wear a military uniform. The suddenly louder voice startled Chu Xia, and before she had time to ask further questions, she quickly flashed back to the room, opened the cupboard, looked at the uniform gray, black, and blue. Chu Xia sighed helplessly, and looked over one by one. The clothes here are all made by her when she got married. The only thing that has something to do with red is the red collar badge on the military uniform. Getting married in this age really saves money on clothes. In the end, she chose a black woolen suit, trousers with a 4-button small open-necked waist jacket, and a brown sweater with a sweetheart neck was put on under the jacket, and the collar of the white shirt was turned out from the sweetheart collar and pressed on the black jacket. On the collar, it adds a touch of brightness to the depressing color. Straight trousers, with a pair of black leather shoes on the feet. After changing his clothes, he went to the mirror to take a picture, and gave himself a thumbs up in satisfaction. She is now much plumper than before. Although she is still thin compared to ordinary people, she has more feminine softness, which makes her more lovable. Moreover, this set of clothes was designed by herself. Clothes of this era are generally fat and shapeless. She didn't want to be too different, so she asked the clothes maker to tuck the sides of the waist slightly, so that it can't be seen on the body. Deliberately tighten the waist, but visually, it will feel that people are more energetic, so. When she went downstairs, she surprised her mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Please forgive. Clothes of this era have nothing to do with beauty. It is absolutely normal for a certain Xia to be amazed by the clothes he changed himself. Lin Yangkai wore a dark blue suit with a black turtleneck sweater inside, and Yu Tao wore a gray suit with a maroon round neck sweater. They were all typical attires of this era. It's not too early, and it's not too wordy. A few people went out, the car had been dispatched a long time ago, it was already waiting at the door, got into the car, glanced at the car behind, Chu Xia secretly pouted, Zhang Qi and Ma Chaotian didn't bother to follow like this. The two will definitely say it if they hear it, is it useful to be annoying? If we don't follow, the boss will have to skin us when he comes back. Torn our bones. The Zhang family's house is a large 3-story villa. It is in the same area as the Zhou family's old house. The entire first floor is a hall. When the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law arrived, there are quite a few people already gathered in the hall. When the acquaintances saw a few people, they all gathered together, without exception. They all like Chu Xia's dress very much, and are stared at by everyone. The sweat in Chu Xia's heart, her dress will be a scumbag in future generations, okay. Just worried about getting everyone's attention. She didn't want to lose face to the Zhou family, so she chose the most rustic outfit for her. Unexpectedly, it still became the core focus. The eyes of envy, jealousy, liking, and disgust shot from all corners made her regret to death. If she had known, she would have worn the most ordinary fat clothes. However, it is human nature to love beauty. She was a little bit unwilling to let her dress like that. After chatting with acquaintances, Mrs. Zhou and Lin Yangkai took Chu Xia upstairs to say hello to the old birthday star. The 96-year-old old lady Zhang, with snow-white hair pulled back, has a ruddy complexion, is full of energy, and is not deaf or blind. After being greeted by a few people, she smiled and said, Xia Minjiao, you are old well, Xiao Yangkai hasn't changed much, Xiao Tao why don't you get fatter? This most handsome little girl is Xiaomi's daughter-in-law, right? Auntie, I'm already 70, can I not be old? Can't you leave me some thin noodles? The old lady Zhou sat beside her with a smile, and looked at the old lady who was laughing. Sister, Auntie is not confused at all. That's right, if the mother-in-law is confused, there is no one who is not. The old lady looked at Chu Xia and smiled. I said that Xiaomi is not in a hurry, but she must find the most lovable one. The old lady Zhou introduced to Chu Xia with a smile, Xia, this is your aunt, grandma, and my own sister. Hello, Auntie. Chu Xia hurriedly greeted her. In fact, she had already said hello just now, but she didn't know where this auntie was. Anyway, she couldn't tell who was who after all the greetings. How Xia, the old lady laughed, when you got married, my aunt wanted to go, but she didn't feel up to it, so she didn't go to join in the fun. Later, she couldn't find a suitable time, so she put it off. Said then he took out a red envelope from his pocket and handed it to Chu Xia. This is the happy money that my aunt gave you. In the early summer, I have a black line. I have been married for several months, and I have made up for Mao's happy money. Take it. Mrs. Joe took it and stuffed it into Chuxia's hands. Your auntie is very picky, it's not easy for her to give you money. Remember, in the future, you don't have to accept it from others, but you must take what your auntie gives. It's me who celebrates my birthday today. Xiaoxing said that she was not happy because she was left out. Auntie, do you want to be jealous of your daughter-in-law? Mrs. Joe looked at her and smiled. My sister and I haven't seen each other for more than half a year, can't we let our sisters talk? When can't you talk? Why do you have to rush today? Mrs. Zhang said and waved to Chuxia. Come to grandma's place to do it. It looks so small that it's hard to find with a lantern. Auntie, it's really you. A girl in her early 20s ran in, with an apple face, big eyes, small nose, round lips, so cartoonish. Xiaoshan looks better the longer she grows. Mrs. Zhou introduced Chuxia to her. This is your third sister-in-law, haven't you seen her? Zhongshan stared at Chuxia with wide eyes, with a look of envy on her face. Sister-in-law, you look so good looking, and you dress so nicely. Auntie, I'm going to take sister-in-law out to play. You talk about dull rotten grains, sister-in-law definitely don't like to hear it. Chuxia has already become numb to the phrase beautiful looking. Everyone said that when they met, and she really thought she was good looking, so she didn't feel much about such a compliment, but it seemed that the girl's compliment came from the heart, not fuan and jealousy. She looked at Mrs. Zhou inquiringly, and she nodded at her. Xia, let Xiaoshan take you down for a walk, she knows the young children well, let her introduce you to them. Zhongshan looked at Yutao. Sister-in-law, do you want to come together? No, it's inconvenient for me. Yutao pointed to her stomach. I'm afraid of bumping into you. Hearing what she said, Chuxia remembered her purpose for coming, and rejected Zhongshan. Thank you, let's stay with grandma, mother, and sister-in-law, and I will help mother protect sister-in-law when I go down later. Sister and sister, I'm fine. Yutao smiled and pushed Chuxia. Go down and play for a while. Xiaoshan knows a lot of friends, you are about the same age, you should be able to talk together. Mrs. Zhou and Lin Yangqiu said almost at the same time, go. In fact, Chuxia, who had no interest in meeting friends, had no choice but to follow Zhongshan out reluctantly. Sister-in-law, I heard you are only 18, Zhongshan asked curiously. And Chuxia responded. Then I'm older than you. Zhongshan smiled with wide eyes. I never thought that such a serious third brother would find a wife younger than me. Chuxia grinned, but said nothing. Sister-in-law, don't get me wrong, I'm just curious. We've always been curious about what kind of sister-in-law the third brother will find, but we never thought that he would find such a young one. However, you can tell from the appearance of the sister-in-law. Zhongshan dragged Chuxia to the side hall, surrounded by a bunch of young girls. Just as you recited the quotations, Chuxia immediately became embarrassing. This is not her strong point. Ami tofu, she should withdraw. Thinking so, she turned around and walked back. Zhongshan grabbed her. Sister-in-law 3, what's the matter? Seeing that I dare not come here, it was Yamiru who spoke, Yamiru who married into the Huang family. To be honest, Chuxia really didn't see her, she was just startled by the noise of snatching her back just now. When she saw someone with a proud face, she pulled the corners of her mouth and smiled. Why are you afraid of you? She remembers what old lady Joe said, some people's faces can be slapped. She now understands that the old lady probably expected Yamiru to come, otherwise, why would she say such things for no reason? You stole my man, shouldn't you be afraid of me? Puchi, Chuxia burst out laughing, no one exposed your faults, but you rushed to expose yourself? By the way, when you slept in the wrong bed, did you ever think about which man is yours? You, Yamiru's face was flushed red. She didn't expect Chuxia to say it so bluntly. The girls in the circle all looked a little excited. Zhou Mikang's wife and ex-girlfriend were very excited. It's up, it's exciting to watch. Sister-in-law 3, Let's go to grandma's. Jongshan was terribly annoyed. When she went upstairs, Yamiru hadn't come yet, so she thought she wouldn't come, but she didn't expect this woman to be so thick-skinned. But thinking about it, it's not surprising. If she was really ashamed, she wouldn't be able to do such a thing. Lin Chuxia, you are a yellow-haired girl from the countryside. What qualifications do you have to marry Zhou Mikang? You don't know anything, how can you be worthy of him? Are you crazy? Chu Xia blinked her big eyes. You married woman, what right do you have to tell me about these things? I didn't say I'm going to marry Zhou Mikang, I'm just not worth it for him, Yamiru said and pulled a girl with exquisite eyebrows and eyes beside her. Lu Fu is proficient in everything, chess, calligraphy and painting, much better than you. You really don't care about salty carrots. Chu Xia looked at her calmly. Zhou Mikang is looking for a caring wife, who has something to do with music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 436. One more. Why are you pretending to be confused? Yamiru chuckled, looking at Chu Xia with contempt in her eyes. Because I don't know how, I pretended not to care, isn't it vain in my heart right now? Chu Xia was a little puzzled. Didn't it mean that people in this era are a little bit shy of piano, chess, calligraphy, and painting? How could Yamiru rush to jump into the pit? Or is there a difference between what ordinary people understand and the actual situation? It's true, after all, there is a vacuum between the public and the minority, and it's normal to have discrepancies. Yamiru took Chu Xia's silence as a guilty conscience, and chuckled again. As a rural child, you are already pretty good, so you don't need to be too inferior. Zhongshan stood in front of Chu Xia with a blushing face. Sister Ye, can you be kind? My third brother chose my third sister-in-law, which means that my third sister-in-law has the qualities that my third brother likes. Comparing with what others are not good at, winning is also losing. Yamiru curled her lips. I'm just not worth it for Zhou Mikang. Why can't I choose a high-quality wife like Lu Fu? Lu Fu smiled lightly, and moved a little further away from Yamiru. Sister Ye, it's you who like Zhou Mikang, not me, so don't drag me into the fight between you two. Yamiru's face turned dark, and she turned to look at her with a stiff smile. I'm just using a metaphor, this is to praise you, why don't you want to? Thank you for your compliment, but I don't need it. Slender willow leaf eyebrows, a small upturned nose, and a small red cherry mouth. The skin is fair to somewhat translucent, and the figure is petite. A typical classic beauty, but the words she speaks are terribly sharp. Chu Xia glanced at her appreciatively, and she nodded with a faint smile. Noticing the small gestures between the two, Yamiru immediately became rude when she spoke. Xiaofu, if I remember correctly, you used to like Zhou Mikang, and even talked bad about me everywhere because I broke up with him. Right, she wanted to draw an alliance, not to increase alliances for the other party. You really did remember wrong. It was my sister Lu Ying who once liked Zhou Mikang, not me. Lu Fu smiled calmly. However, she has become the daughter-in-law of the Wang family and has a deep relationship with my brother-in-law. Now, naturally, it is impossible to have any thoughts about Zhou Mikang. And after a pause, she looked at Chu Xia. Maybe most people think you are not worthy of Zhou Mikang, but I don't think so. Obviously Zhou Mikang is not good enough for you, okay? At least, until now, I haven't heard that you have an ex-fiancé who came to bite him like a mad dog. It's normal to have a good first impression and a friendly attitude. But such a clear-cut support at the first meeting seems a bit abnormal, although I am puzzled. But it seems that this is not the time to ask questions. Chu Xia smiled at the other party. Thank you. She felt When you don't understand the situation, it's better to say less. You're welcome. The corner of Lufu's mouth curled slightly. Looking at Yamiru, sister, yeah, you pulled me in just now. Did you misremember whether it was me or my sister who liked Joe Mikang, or did you clearly remember who the one who liked Joe Mikang was, but deliberately framed me? Or do you just think that I will become an enemy of Lin Chuxia for my sister? Remember, in the future, when using others, first understand the actual situation, so as not to steal the chicken and lose money, and what right do you have to laugh at others? Who in our circle didn't know about your scandal back then? You don't mention it is kindness. Why do you insist on taking everyone's kindness as forgetfulness? Yamiru's face was angrily contorted at first, but after the other party's voice fell, she quickly recovered her smiling face. Lufu, are you angry because of what I said? Hee hee. Lufu looked at her amusedly. My position is too clear for you to accept? Oh, don't you know that Zhou Xiangping and I are best friends? Bullying her sister-in-law in front of me, and want to drag me into the water. Tell me, who am I going to face? You and Xiao Si are friends. Yamiru looked surprised. You are several years younger than her, how could you be friends with her? Then what's impossible? Lufu curled her lips. Big sister, yeah, don't make such a mistake when drawing alliances in the future, otherwise, you will be the one who looks ugly. Then why didn't you turn to Lin Chuxia at the beginning? Yamiru stared straight at her. Don't put gold on your face, you just make excuses for yourself when you touch the pain. Sister-in-law, why are you so angry? With a soft voice of inquiry, a woman in a military uniform came over. So beautiful. This was Chu Xia's first reaction when he saw her. The military uniforms of this era are not comparable to the military uniforms of later generations in terms of production and fabrics, but this girl wears the military uniform out of its proper style. The same short ear-length hair, leaving it on other people's heads is dirt, and leaving it on her head is temperament. Perfectly curved crescent eyebrows, Gu Pan's big eyes, the bridge of the nose is not very high but gives people just the right feeling, and the skin tone is impeccable, whether it is in terms of figure or appearance. This is all. She is an unforgettable girl. Chuxia will fully grow in 2 years or can be comparable to her, but now, standing in front of her, she is definitely compared to an immature child. Or, the old lady didn't let her wear the military uniform because she didn't want her to have the sharpest contrast with this girl. Suddenly, this idea came to her. While everyone gathered around to say hello, Zhang Shan hurriedly dragged Chu Xia out. Who is that? Chu Xia asked curiously. Her name is Huang Sui, and she is the youngest of the third generation of the Huang family. She is very favored at home, and she is very close to Yamiru's husband, Huang Sulong. Oh, Chu Xia nodded, expressing her understanding. She is only 23 years old this year, but she has already become the chief doctor of Beijing No. 301 General Hospital. Apart from Mr. Liang, she is the most famous doctor in surgery, and she is an absolute genius. Oh, Chu Xia nodded again. No wonder the crowd, who were obviously watching the excitement, looked at her with hostility in an instant. It turned out that it was for Huang Sui to see. Because of Yamiru's reputation and Huang Sulong's unpopular status in the Huang family, no one paid much attention to her, but this Huang Sui was different. To be able to achieve this achievement at this age is absolutely limitless in the future, plus the status of the Huang family is there. If they are not close at this time, when will it be? Chu Xia's reaction made Zhang Shan think that she didn't understand Huang Sui's ability, so she explained in more detail. At her age, she is usually just learning medicine, but she can already perform her own surgery, and it is still only difficult. She was the one who performed the major surgery, which is an absolute genius in the medical field. Chu Xia nodded, I know. Sister-in-law 3 knows. Zhang Shan looked at her in confusion. You really do? Of course. Chu Xia smiled. I'm not stupid. That's not what I meant. Zhang Shan smiled embarrassedly. I think your reaction is too bland. I remember when I first learned about her talent, I was so excited that I couldn't speak in front of her. That feeling of admiration, it's like admiration for grandparents. With this description, Chu Xia couldn't help but burst out laughing. What I said is true. Why did I drag my sister-in-law and ran away just now? I was afraid that she would ask me what happened. If I stuttered and couldn't understand, I would have hurt my sister-in-law. Zhang Shan stretched out tongue. Does the third sister-in-law think that I am too worthless? No. Chu Xia looked at her with a smile. You should also study medicine, right? Yes. How did the third sister-in-law see it? Otherwise, why would you worship her so much? Chu Xia spread her hands. Only with true understanding can there be true worship. To be honest, I also admire her very much. She can achieve such achievements at this age, even if she is a genius. Talent, but also put in absolute effort. High precision surgery is not something that can be perfected just by being smart. After hesitating for a while, Zhang Shan asked, Sister-in-law, you are also a medical student, right? That's right. Hey, Zhang Shan sighed, what a pity. Huh, Chu Xia looked at her wonderingly, what do you mean? No one in the younger generation who studies medicine doesn't want to be her student, but with Yamiru around, it's impossible for her to accept the third sister-in-law as a student. It's a pity. Zhang Shan shook her head while sighing. She never. If you don't participate in this kind of banquet, Huang Solong must have asked her to come here today. Even for Huang Solong, she would not accept the third sister-in-law as an apprentice. I'm just getting started, and I can't even hold a scalpel well. Why do I want to go so far? And Chu Xia smiled helplessly. If you don't study medicine, you must be her student. Without her, you can't study medicine. That's right. Zhang Shan nodded her head vigorously. It would be even better if you can become Mr. Liang's apprentice. Third sister-in-law, my third brother and Mr. Liang's grandson are friends. When the time comes, you can let the third brother take you go see Mr. Liang. Chu Xia has a black hair. How did the brain circuit of Miss Zhang Shan grow? This is equivalent to letting her learn how to fly before she even learned how to walk. Realizing that she seemed to be on the edge of a dead end, Zhang Shan smiled and pulled Chu Xia's hand. Sister-in-law, in fact, I may not be able to become Huang Sui's apprentice. No matter whether she succeeds or not in her assessment, I can't let myself down first, don't you think so? Chu Xia nodded, yes. This era is the era when gender is ambiguous and the slogan of strive for the first is the most powerful. Zhang Shan's thinking like this fits the characteristics of this era. Regardless of whether you can become the best one in the end, anyway, the goal must be set at the highest. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 437. The second update arrived. The previous chapter warmed up to the second, and it was uploaded at noon and there was no release, so I thought I posted it. Why don't you play more down here? Seeing Chu Xia coming back, Mrs. Zhou held her hand with a smile. How boring are you with us old women? I met Yamiru, Chu Xia said truthfully. Zhang Shan blushed and stepped forward. Auntie, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. When I came up, Yamiru hadn't come yet, and I didn't know she would come. Xiao Shan, what are you sorry for? I guess she came here with her mother. Mrs. Zhou said and sighed. The child was very obedient and quiet when he was young. Why has he become such a temper now? He said and looked at Chu Xia. Xia, you just follow grandma. If she dares to come here to provoke you again, let's see how grandma will deal with her, and give her a shameless thing. Yo, you understand now. Mrs. Zhou's older sister, Xia Mingfen, laughed. Didn't it be time for you to be anxious when we said she was not good? He said and looked at Chu Xia. You old woman, you have an unusual temper. You are so stubborn, no one will turn her around for what she is sure about, and being able to protect you like this shows that you are a good child. In the future, if anyone dares to have bad thoughts about Xiaomi, no one else is needed, your old woman it can be cleaned up neatly. Xiaomi can clean up neatly by herself. Mrs. Zhang snorted dissatisfiedly, don't label Xiaomi, there is no aunt like you. Mom, I don't want to use a metaphor. Metaphors are not allowed. Ha ha ha. Both Mrs. Zhou and Lin Yangkai were amused by the old lady, of course. I am also really happy that others believe in their children. How can you be unhappy as a grandma, mother, who values your own children? Yu Tao smiled and took Chu Xia's hand and whispered, just now you went out. My aunt and grandma have been praising you all the time, saying that the youngest has 2 vicious eyes and 2 accurate judgment. Biting her lip, Zhang Shan said, Huang Sui from the Huang family is here. She's here. Lin Yangkai was taken aback for a moment, then frowned, is it because of Yamiru? Ye Zhang Shan nodded, when she came, I quickly dragged the third sister-in-law up. Chu Xia didn't say a word, but secretly paid attention to the faces of several people. She found that when Huang Sui was mentioned, the complexions of the elders changed slightly, and it wasn't just because of their good medical skills. Yu Tao has been married to the Zhou family for several years. However, due to the environment in which she grew up, she was not familiar with many people, so her expression at this time was similar to Chu Xia's, full of doubts. Seeing the puzzlement in the eyes of the 2 daughters-in-law, Lin Yangkai said, this youngest daughter of the Huang family is amazing. If she were a boy, she would definitely be a leader of the younger generation. He went to school at the age of 6, graduated from elementary school at the age of 8, entered Beijing Medical University at the age of 11, and became a graduate student of Mr. Yang Ming at the age of 14. He started independent surgery at the age of 18, and is now the youngest chief physician in the 301 General Hospital. His medical skills were slightly inferior to Mr. Liang's. Genius. Genius. He is indeed a godlike genius. Chu Xia sighed and realized a problem at the same time, would this person be super vengeful? Although she has no enmity with the other party. But what if Yamiru creates some revenge? Snort. Well, she can't hum. Now she really doesn't have the strength to compete with the other party, so she can only look at the elders. Is she extreme? Don't worry, I have Mom and Grandma. Lin Yangkai put her arms around her shoulders and patted her shoulders. This child has a good personality, but she has the best relationship with Huang Xinlong. If we meet in the future, we will inevitably be unfriendly to you. Don't see her, just ignore her. Chu Xia breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay, as long as she doesn't come to be yin, and doesn't need power to oppress me, I'm not afraid, I'll just treat her as air. Then she curled her lips, Grandma doesn't let me wear military uniforms, just afraid of being compared to her. You child. Mrs. Zhou smiled and shook her head, how can she compare you? Grandma didn't let you wear a military uniform because she didn't want others to criticize you. You child, you forgot that you have only been in the army for a few months. What does this have to do with being a soldier for a few months? Chu Xia was at a loss. The military uniforms of this era didn't have a military rank marked on them. In her opinion, they were all the same. Okay. Huang Sui came here in military uniform. Chu Xia nodded. N. Have you seen the material of her military uniform? Nice. Then it's over. If you wear something made of fabric and she wears something made of soft material, it's inevitable that someone will hit you with it. Grandma knows you don't care, but Grandma doesn't want you to be wronged. Why did you hit me? Compared to that day, is she almost an idiot? A certain Xia Tongzi wanted to hit the wall. Among the children of the same generation, Xiaomi has the best grades among boys, and Huang Sui has the best grades among girls. When you were not married, there were many people who introduced girls to Xiaomi, but they were all rejected. Then suddenly married you, what do you think of those who were rejected? Chu Xia's eyes widened in an instant. is this Huang Sui also introduced to Zhou Mikang? Yes. Mrs. Zhou's affirmative answer made Mao Xia excited. Grandma, Zhou Mikang didn't even like such a proud girl. I was stopped. Ah. You child. Mrs. Zhou sighed, can you stop being so dazed? Chu Xia hurriedly rubbed her cheeks, and smiled embarrassedly. I just think that girls with such good conditions are rejected by grandma. I'm a little surprised, hee hee. In fact, she is not surprised now. Just now she was only thinking about Huang Sui's talent and appearance, but this time she understood what the Huang family was up to. If you really think about it, the background of the Huang family is of course deeper than that of the Zhou family. Before, the Zhou family was on the same front as the Wang family who had gone to the field. The Wang family and the Huang family are two lines. If he married the Huang family, would the Wang family still trust the Zhou family? What the Huang family is looking at should be the military power in the hands of the father-in-law. And this kind of marriage is killing two birds with one stone. It makes the Wang family lose a helper, and makes the Zhou family have to rely on the Huang family. It not only hurts the enemy but also has more helpers. Why not do it? Obviously, they knew that other people could not seduce Zhou Mikang, so they threw Huang Sui out. This girl is definitely a temptation that men cannot refuse, no matter what. And private, how comfortable is it with beautiful women every day? Yu Gong, although she broke with her original backer, but this kind of backer who is married is more reliable. In calculation, it is just a change of employer. The salary remains the same, and it is more stable. Isn't it a profit? Of course, there is no absolute thing in the world, no matter which backer, there is no guarantee that it will stand forever, it depends on everyone's vision and luck. Grandma, are you refusing the Huang family's marriage because of business or personal reasons? Chu Xia asked curiously. What do you think? The old lady asked back. Lin Yangkai went to the door to have a look, and closed the door behind her. Grandma, then I'll just say it straight. After saying this, Chu Xia paused for a while, until Mrs. Zhou nodded, and then said, I think it has something to do with both public and private. And privately, you should still think that Yamiru was pretty good at that time, and hope that she could continue her relationship with Zhou Mikang again. Moreover, you may think that marrying such a smart and capable girl, according to Zhou Mikang's personality, the two people may not get along. For the sake of Zhou Mikang's happiness, you must refuse. Yu Gong, it is because you and Grandpa are people who value love and righteousness, and you will never do anything that makes people say no. Probably, our family will go to the field with the Wang family. This is my guess. If there is something wrong, don't mind Grandma. I'm not an outsider anyway, so I'll say what I think. You are so young, where did you get your cleverness? Mrs. Zhou's sister nodded appreciatively. I testify that your old lady really thought so at the time. Not to lose to Huang Sui, if not for the different conditions, the third daughter-in-law's grades may not be worse than hers. I know how many caddies I have, and Chu Xia quickly waved her hands. Auntie, please stop praising me, I'm not that arrogant in my studies, there's no comparison. The old lady Zhou stared. Why is there no comparison? You are much better than her in Grandma's eyes. Xia, we don't want to destroy our ambition and grow her prestige. You have to feel from the bottom of your heart that you are better than her. She is strong. Grandma. Chu Xia frowned bitterly. I can't be so narcissistic. Although you may not be as fast as her in learning, you are no worse than her in other areas. She was trained since she was a child. As for you, you have no chance at all. You see, you learned the piano from Mr. Wan for such a short period of time, and you can play the piano better than what you learned professionally. With this learning ability, it means that if you cultivated it like that when you were young, you are definitely no worse than her. The one in Chu Xia is sweating. She is in the 12th grade of piano, she graduated from university, and she grew up in the city. Well, This is probably the only place where she can earn cheap money in this era. However, she doesn't seem stupid to say that she used to be a fast learner when she was in school. Now, she doesn't seem to be slow. Anyway, she didn't forget what she learned, and now she learns things faster than others. Psychological hints are really useful. Just for a while, Mao really felt that he was no different from a real genius. Seeing that the time was about the same, the aunt looked at Mrs. Zhang inquiringly. "Mom, why don't we go down now?" "Sure, let's go down." The old lady got up quickly and took the lead to go out. A certain Xia stared dumbfounded at the figure of Mrs. Zhang disappearing outside the door. Is this an old man in his 90s? That pace is no slower than the old woman's. Grandma Zhang has fought in wars, and she knows how to use 2 guns, Yu Tao whispered in her ear, and pulled Mao Xia, who was still in a daze, to go out.